Chapter 734. Genius 1 second. Remember love go divided by Xiao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow closed his eyes and did not speak. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao say www.ichuxs.com. Don't be silent. If you don't speak it will prove that this is your weakness. She said. Have you never seen a man before? Can you be any more despicable? Night Sorrow cursed again. I've never seen a man like this before. Yishang, I'll tell you the truth. One of my intentions is to get your body refining ancient book. If you don't cooperate, I'll have to sacrifice my virginity to absorb all your qi, blood, and essence for my own use. Moreover, it's useless for you to refine the energy I left in your body. You won't be able to refine it without 10 days or half a month. When the time comes I'll just make up for it, said Shi. At this time Night Sorrow was extremely shocked because he knew that there were some evil cultivation methods and perverts. Back when he was doing a mission in the Medicine Valley, he saw 2 demonesses practicing such methods. The men who were caught were all turned into bones. You are a woman, you are a saint. You should at least leave some face for your man, right? Why are you doing this? Night Sorrow shouted at Shi. I don't have a man. Besides, who will know? Won't I lose face? I don't have much time for you to think about it. I have obtained this ancient book before. Let me take a look at it now. Shi took out a book and started to study it. Yishang began to curse. However, after a few curses Shi shackled Yishang's head. Be quiet for this seat. Night Sorrow's whole body was immobilized. He could not curse even if he wanted to. He could only continue to refine the energy wrapped around his dantian. Original copy of the song. Our Hair V. There was one thing that made Night Sorrow very happy, and that was Shi's miscalculation. Night Sorrow calculated that he would be able to refine the energy that Shi left in his body in 2 days. At that time he would have to take the risk of using the spatial rend. Night Sorrow was lying on the ground. Fortunately, the Silver Dusk tribe paid attention to the quality of life. The ground was covered with soft animal skins, so Night Sorrow didn't feel uncomfortable lying on the ground. To be precise, Night Sorrow had lost his chance to escape. When he had discovered that Father Gu had escaped, he should have immediately used the spatial rend to escape. However, at that time he had still been thinking of a foolproof plan. In the end, his dantian's energy had been sealed, so he couldn't use the spatial rend to escape. Without his quintessential qi and the protection of the void protective qi shield, the success rate of using the spatial rend to escape was greatly reduced. At the same time, Night Sorrow was also communicating with Little Kong. When he was about to make a move, Little Kong would assist him. Because the Spacetime Pagoda was a sage treasure, she couldn't keep it in her storage ring, so she kept it by her side. Night Sorrow also explained the situation to Little Kong. He asked if she would be killed by Shi and refine the Spacetime Pagoda if he really ran away. Little Kong's meaning was very clear. If she had enough energy then Shi wouldn't be able to do anything to her. Night Sorrow's soul force surged, and he took out the high-grade and top-grade spirit stones that he had thrown into the Spacetime Pagoda. He told Little Kong to refine them if the situation was urgent. She would go install Shi. He would bring Long Shenxing over and find Shi through their soul link. In addition, Night Sorrow also said that if he ran away and couldn't refine the Spacetime Pagoda in a short period of time, Shi could only throw it away. After knowing the situation, Little Kong told Night Sorrow to run away if he had the chance. She would be fine, so Night Sorrow didn't have to worry. Shi looked at the cultivation technique. Sometimes her face would blush and sometimes she would frown. There were many parts of the cultivation technique that a woman without a man like her couldn't accept. However, she still slowly paid attention to it. 2 days later, Night Sorrow had almost finished refining the energy that Shi had left in his body. However, at this time Shi also stood up. She had finished studying the cultivation technique. Although she hadn't come into contact with this cultivation technique, who was Shi? She was an expert that was second only to Long Shenxing, Heavenly Underworld Saint, and Xiaolanjun. She could easily master an ancient book. You haven't decided yet? Let me tell you, I have almost finished studying the cultivation technique. If you don't hand over the ancient book, I can only use force to absorb your blood and essence. Shi kept the ancient book and said, Don't be delusional. My heart is like iron. If I am not interested in you, you can't do anything. Night Sorrow said coldly. Well, I am not afraid of you. There is a kind of snake in this mountain called the red scale snake. This snake is not poisonous, but it can induce aphrodisiac. It will be very useful to deal with you. I will go and catch it now. She waved her arm and used her energy to pull Night Sorrow to her side. Then she left the cave. She wanted to gain experience from being taken advantage of. She didn't let Night Sorrow out of her sight. Can you be more shameless? Can you pull up my pants? Night Sorrow scolded while being wrapped in She's energy. Because She didn't help him tidy up his pants, the big bird with 2 red marks was still outside. I have decided to be shameless. That's it. She ignored Night Sorrow's scolding and continued to fly in the mountain. Under the probing of her soul power, she easily caught a pair of red scale snakes. Then she returned to the cave and sealed the cave again. Night Sorrow used all his strength to refine the energy that She left in his body. He knew that he would have to face She's shameless actions next. She had a great figure and was very beautiful. Especially her long silver hair, it added a lot of flirtatious aura. However, Night Sorrow was afraid. This She was currently a pink skeleton. The energy that She left in Night Sorrow's body was getting lesser and lesser. Only a thin layer of energy was left around Night Sorrow's dantian. When Night Sorrow used all his strength to refine the energy that She left in his body, She made a move. She kicked Night Sorrow flat on the animal skin and killed the female red scale snake. She raised her head and drank the blood of the red scale snake. Then she cut off the head of the male red scale snake. She opened Night Sorrow's mouth with one hand and forced the blood of the male red scale snake into Night Sorrow's mouth with the other hand. Now that things have come to this, I can only let you take advantage of me, she said. At this moment, her face was flushed. Night Sorrow was circulating the energy in his body to suppress the blood of the red scale snake. While Night Sorrow was suppressing the blood of the red scale snake and refining the energy that she left in his body, She's pants were pulled down. With a shake of her hands, she pulled down Night Sorrow's pants. She pulled down Night Sorrow's pants. Then she took a piece of red muslin and threw it on Night Sorrow's face. There were some things that she didn't want Night Sorrow to see. Night Sorrow was anxious. If he didn't refine the energy that she imprisoned in his dantian, he would be in trouble. If he used the space crack now, he would enter the space turbulence. The distance that he could travel would be very short. There was no way he could escape. She looked at Night Sorrow's flying bird that was still listless. She picked up the corpse of the male red scale snake and smeared some blood on Night Sorrow's flying bird. Chapter 735. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? I will provide you with wonderful novels to read. Seeing Night Sorrow's wilted bird, she undressed and sat on Night Sorrow's body. Then she slowly squatted down. Although she had never touched a man before, She's body was ready after eating the blood of the red-scaled snake. She supported Night Sorrow's wilted bird with one hand and sat on it. The moment she sat on it, she let out a cry. At the same time, she operated her true chi and performed a cultivation method of plucking. At this moment, Night Sorrow finished refining the energy that she left in his body. Yishang shouted in his heart. His genuine chi burst out and broke free from She's restraints. Then the energy of the myriad Tao Bible burst out. He reached out his hands and grabbed She's arms, who had her back to him, and pulled. With Night Sorrow's pull, She's body sat firmly on Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow's thick spear pierced into She's body. The pain of her vital parts being torn apart caused She's true chi to become chaotic. It ran around her body uncontrollably. Yishang grabbed She's hands tightly. After restraining them, he stood up and pushed She to the edge of the pink bed. He pressed She down tightly and then used the soul destruction slash to slash at She's spirit sea. Night Sorrow wanted to injure She as much as possible and then escape. At this moment, She was in a state of chi deviation. Her true chi was chaotic and uncontrollable. Her spirit ocean did not have any defense and was instantly cut by Night Sorrow's soul destruction slash. When Night Sorrow's soul destruction slash cut into She's spirit ocean, She began to struggle. The soul energy in her spirit ocean surged and began to block Night Sorrow's attack. However, it was too late. Night Sorrow's soul extermination crescent moon blade had already entered her spirit sea. Seeing that there was a soul pearl in her spirit sea, it headed towards the soul pearl, which was also the god pearl. With the impact of Night Sorrow's soul extinguishing slash crescent moon blade, She's blood-curdling screams continued. This was an attack on her foundation. She didn't have the energy to pay attention to the situation of the energy in her body. She could only mobilize her soul power to defend herself, using all her strength to block Night Sorrow's attack on her spirit sea. When Night Sorrow used his full power to execute the soul destruction slash, his body also hit Silver's body. He attacked She's delicate body parts so that She wouldn't have the energy to attack. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao say www.ichuxs.com. Night Sorrow had also noticed Yin Shi's situation. He knew that Yin Shi was possessed by Zhou Hua. The energy in her body was chaotic, and she had no energy or ability to fight back. Once again, Night Sorrow fiercely hit Yin Shi's back twice. Then he took 2 steps back and used Yin Shi's skirt to wipe the bloodstains on the big bird. Then he pulled up his pants. While doing this, Night Sorrow's soul extinguishing / crescent moon blade was still slashing wildly in Yin Shi's spirit sea. After pulling up his pants, Night Sorrow took out the 5-clawed pterosaur tendon and tied Yin Shi's hands behind her back. Then he tied her legs as well. Then he hit Yin Shi's dantian with true chi to seal it. Originally, Night Sorrow didn't have the chance to seal Yin Shi's dantian. Seeing that Yin Shi's true chi was chaotic, he knew that she had no ability to fight back. After Night Sorrow sealed Yin Shi's dantian, Yin Shi's true chi stabilized. However, most of her cultivation had dissipated. Night Sorrow felt that Yin Shi was now at Lan Yushuan's level. She couldn't be much higher. OS original unspecified currency. Send after sealing Yin Shi's body, Night Sorrow's soul attack didn't stop. He continued to attack Yin Shi's spirit sea pearl. At this moment, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear was placed below Yin Shi's neck. He was considering whether to kill her or not. Get her into the space-time pagoda and suppress her. Then you can deal with her however you want. Shao Kong communicated with Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow thought for a moment. Then he slashed fiercely at Yin Shi's spirit sea pearl again. When Yin Shi was defending herself, Shao Kong controlled the space-time pagoda to become bigger. He tried his best to pull Yin Shi's body into the space-time pagoda. Seeing that Yin Shi was resisting, Night Sorrow's soul extinguishing / crescent moon blade continued to attack Yin Shi's spirit sea. Although Yin Shi's spirit sea had a strong soul power, Night Sorrow's crescent moon blade could still continue to attack. When the soul extinguishing / crescent moon blade attacked, Night Sorrow's body flashed. He grabbed Yin Shi's ankle and pulled her into the space-time pagoda. At this moment, Shao Kong appeared beside Night Sorrow. Then he used his energy to suppress Yin Shi. Night Sorrow, I really can't do anything to her outside. But now that she's inside, she's like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. So what if she's a saint? She can't communicate with the rules of heaven and earth here, Shao Kong said. Night Sorrow sat on the steps to rest. At the same time, he put on the storage ring that Shao Kong had returned to him. He also put away the top-grade spirit stones. He took a part of the top-grade spirit stones and left a part for Shao Kong. Night Sorrow wasn't afraid now. He controlled the soul extinguishing / crescent moon blade casually. Yin Shi couldn't force the crescent moon blade out of her spirit sea. When Night Sorrow lowered the frequency of the crescent moon blade's attack, Yin Shi's condition improved a little. Night Sorrow, I admit defeat. Just kill me. I accept my fate, Yin Shi said embarrassedly. At this moment Yin Shi looked very pitiful. Her naked body was covered in sweat. She tried her best to cover up the blood stains between her legs. Why do you have to do this? Night Sorrow said with a frown. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. I have nothing to say. Maybe this is the price of doing something despicable, Yin Shi said while gasping for breath. Yishang, subdue her. Her cultivation base is damaged and she's lost most of her cultivation base. However, her soul cultivation base is still there and so is her realm. She can still improve in the future. Little Kong communicated with Yishang. I won't kill you just like you won't kill me. But you have to surrender, Night Sorrow said. You're delusional. I'm a saint, a 7-star saint. How can I surrender to a supremacy like you? That's a joke. If I want to die, I can do it. After saying this, Yin Shi controlled her soul power to self-destruct. At this moment, Night Sorrow's crescent moon blade stirred in Yin Shi's spirit sea, making her soul power unable to gather. After struggling for a while, Yin Shi gave up. You can't keep doing this, right? You'll self-destruct if you're not careful. Do I have to keep preventing you from committing suicide? But that's fine. I can still afford it, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow, you can torture her. As long as she doesn't resist, you can control her by leaving a strand of soul power in her God orb. At that time, you'll be able to feel the fluctuation of her soul power. It'll be impossible for her to commit suicide, Shao Kong communicated with Night Sorrow. I didn't expect you to have so many ideas. Night Sorrow glanced at Shao Kong who was beside him. Then Night Sorrow controlled the crescent moon blade to slash at Yin Shi's God orb. At this moment, Yin Shi did something that surprised Night Sorrow. She let go of all her soul power defense and let Night Sorrow kill her. She wanted to die. She had always been an expert of the 9 regions and could be said to be the leader of the heroes. Today she was humiliated in front of Night Sorrow. It was hard for Inshi to accept it. In addition, half of her cultivation was destroyed. She no longer had the motivation to live. Chapter 736. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Because Inshi did not resist, Night Sorrow's soul power successfully entered Inshi's soul bead. Then, some fragments appeared in Night Sorrow's mind. Night Sorrow knew that it was Inshi's memory. You shameless bastard. I asked you to kill me. What did you do? Inshi cursed. Of course she knew what was going on. At this moment she was hysterical. I won't kill you. You just have to behave in the future. It won't be a problem for you to recover your strength. Night Sorrow was very happy that he successfully left his soul power in Inshi's soul bead. That's impossible. You want to control me? That's absolutely impossible. Inshi said. We don't need a day or two to decide the winner between us. I have the ability to make you submit. Night Sorrow's soul power vibrated. Following the vibration of Night Sorrow's soul power, Inshi screamed and her body fell down again. Night Sorrow sat on the steps, took out a jar of wine and drank 2 mouthfuls. It's really not easy. Inshi looked at Night Sorrow. She wanted to say something but she didn't say anything. She didn't understand how Night Sorrow undid the true chi binding. You can just stay here and cultivate. What you lack now is true chi energy. You can slowly recover. But don't have any crooked thoughts. As long as you have any thoughts, I will know. You also know how it feels to have your soul tortured. Night Sorrow's soul power vibrated again. Following the vibration of Night Sorrow's soul power, Inshi screamed again. Looking at Inshi, Night Sorrow untied the 5-clawed pterosaur tendon on Inshi's body. I want to go out and take a bath. Inshi took out a silk dress to cover her delicate body. Then she looked at Night Sorrow and said, Alright, I'll say it again. Don't even think about it. You know what it means to have your soul taken over. As long as you leave the edge of the area I don't control, I will shake up your soul power. After saying that, Night Sorrow brought Inshi out of the space-time pagoda. Go and take a bath. After opening the cave's restriction, don't close it again. Night Sorrow looked at Inshi and said. Night Sorrow also went to the water source to get some water. He wanted to make tea. For the past few days, Night Sorrow's heart had been tense. It was really not easy to win a battle of wits and courage. Shameless. Inshi scolded when she saw Night Sorrow walking over. I'm shameless? It's all your fault. You're the one who did all these shameless things. Don't blame it on me. After hearing Inshi's words, Night Sorrow was furious. It was Inshi who pushed him down first. Inshi shrank back into the water and did not speak. Because Night Sorrow's words were true. She was the one who wanted to do those things. After getting water, Night Sorrow returned to the cave to make tea. He planned to go back after dealing with Inshi's matter. He knew that Wu Lingfei and the others must be very worried during this period of time. After changing into a clean silk dress and combing her hair, Inshi returned to the cave. However, her footsteps were a little unsteady. Some parts of her body had suffered heavy injuries. You should enter the space-time pagoda to cultivate. We can talk about it slowly. Night Sorrow said. You won't let me go? Inshi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. You shouldn't ask this. Do you think it's possible? However, I think that even if you surrender, you won't lose anything. Night Sorrow said. Freedom and dignity are the most basic things in life. Without these 2 things, do you think the loss is nothing? Inshi asked in return. But didn't you do the same to me? You even said that you would absorb my blood and essence. I think it's better for you to enter the space-time pagoda. Don't force me to use force. It won't feel good to attack your soul. Night Sorrow said as he dragged the space-time pagoda with his right hand. After thinking for a while, Inshi did not speak. She knew that it was meaningless to resist because Night Sorrow would definitely persist. If Night Sorrow wanted to leave, he would definitely have her in his hands. Struggle? It was useless to struggle when the divine orb was controlled. Remember, I don't want to see those people. If I lose my dignity in front of them, no matter what, I won't live. Inshi exhaled and said. Okay, we'll go out first. You continue to seal this place. Perhaps we will come back one day. Night Sorrow put away the tea set and left the cave. Inshi, who followed behind, left the cave and casually sealed it. Don't resist. After instructing Inshi, Night Sorrow's soul power wrapped around Inshi and sent her into the space-time pagoda. Then Night Sorrow began to fly. He still remembered the route and direction that Inshi brought him. While flying, Night Sorrow and Inshi communicated. Although Inshi did not want to speak, she still told Night Sorrow that her cultivation was now at the 7th level of the martial honor realm. She had lost 80% of her true chi. Look at this chapter. Night Sorrow said that as long as one's comprehension was still there, one's true chi cultivation would be very easy. Night Sorrow pondered while flying. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow threw 3 dragon spirit pills into the spacetime pagoda. At the same time, he told Inshi about the usage of the dragon spirit pills. He was not worried that Inshi could make a comeback. Soul control was the most thorough control. As long as Inshi was alive, as long as Night Sorrow did not retract his soul power, Inshi would forever be under his control. Inshi didn't say anything. She took one and ate it. Night Sorrow did not pay attention to Inshi. After flying for more than a day, Night Sorrow arrived at Qingtian City. After arriving at Qingtian City, Night Sorrow thought for a while. He felt that if he did not say anything about Inshi, it would be difficult to subdue her if he angered her. After making his decision, Night Sorrow arrived at the Celestial Peak Pavilion and went directly to the Dark Tower. At this time, Xiaolanjun and the others were waiting for news in the Dark Tower. Qin Qin had been captured, but when they went to the stronghold, they did not find Inshi and Night Sorrow. The footprints that Night Sorrow left behind only proved that he was still alive and did not provide any clues. Seeing Night Sorrow arrive, the group stood up. Night Sorrow, you're back? She didn't do anything to you, right? Wu Lingfei went up and grabbed Night Sorrow's arms as she sized up Night Sorrow. I'm fine. After the matter was exposed, she didn't want to leave any leeway and asked me for a cultivation technique. I didn't give it to her, so she had no choice but to let me go. Night Sorrow helplessly lied. At this time, Night Sorrow also activated the soul power in Inshi's divine pearl so that Inshi could hear what he was saying. Fortunately, she still understands. It seems that the key to this matter was Father Gu running out. Otherwise, she wouldn't be worried that it would be exposed. Things would be troublesome then, Lin Yuandao said. Then everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They had been very worried for the past few days. It's good that everything's fine. Inshi hasn't given up yet, so the situation can be controlled, Xiaolanjun said. Night Sorrow nodded and then asked about the God-slaying squad. After knowing that the God-slaying squad was fine, Night Sorrow planned to return to the island. The main reason was that he wanted to cultivate in seclusion and study Inshi. Inshi had to be subdued. Okay, then you go. Tianyu is waiting outside. Take him away. Also, Father Gu is in your mansion number 9, Wu Lingfei said. Chapter 737. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? Shoan.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow saw Tianyu outside the Ankh Palace and greeted Tianyu. He patted Tianyu's neck and led Tianyu out of the Tianji Tower headquarters, returning to mansion number 9. When Papa Gu saw Night Sorrow, he patted Night Sorrow's shoulder heavily with his single arm. I knew you'd be fine. I'm relieved that you're fine, Night Sorrow said as he hugged Papa Gu. Kei Xiang brewed tea for Night Sorrow and Papa Gu. Papa, the Longquan courtyard isn't safe. Let's stay here. Night Sorrow said. Tianji Tower's mansion area did not allow members outside of Tianji Tower to enter, but there were exceptions to everything. Night Sorrow was the young master, so it was reasonable for the young master's adoptive father to stay here. Besides, Papa Gu was personally sent over by Lin Yuandao. No, the Longquan courtyard is very good. If it weren't for that bastard Qin Qin, this wouldn't have happened, Papa Gu said. The matter this time has been resolved, so it should be safe, but you should stay here for a few days first. Night Sorrow originally wanted to say that it would be fine to go back, but he thought of another problem, which was Sumu. If Sumu had evil intentions, it would be a big problem. After drinking the tea, he let Papa Gu rest. Night Sorrow entered the secret training room and then entered the spacetime pagoda. Seeing Night Sorrow enter, Inshi, who was meditating, stood up. It's better to continue refining the dragon spirit pill. I want to ask something. What's the situation with Sumu? Night Sorrow sat on the steps of the spacetime pagoda and asked. It's easy for me to refine the dragon spirit pill. I've finished refining it, Inshi said. Night Sorrow was shocked. He had to refine the dragon spirit pill for 20 days, but Inshi had finished refining it in 2 days. It was simply terrifying. After thinking about it for a while, Yishang understood. Inshi was a 7-star saint. Although her cultivation was destroyed, she still had some of her abilities. Although he was shocked, Night Sorrow asked, what's the situation with Sumu? Will he threaten my family again? I don't want to say too much. After all, as his master, I can't betray him. However, he's an unscrupulous person. But I'm not sure if he will hurt your family. Love, Gong Little Say Network W. Chuin. She hesitated and said hesitated. All right, I understand. Yishang nodded. He was quite satisfied with Yin Shi's answer. After pondering for a moment, Yishan took out 2 pieces of ice spirit blood essence and handed it to Yin Shi. This is a resource for replenishing blood chi. Your blood chi has been injured before, try to see if it can be replenished. It's useless for you to do this. I won't surrender, Yin Shi said. Do you want me to force you? I don't want to torture a woman, Night Sorrow said with a sigh. I might be able to tolerate losing my freedom, but I will never give up my dignity, Yin Shi said while looking at Night Sorrow. Dignity? You have no dignity with me. Don't you understand? You've already treated me that way. Do you still have dignity? Night Sorrow was a little angry when he heard Yin Shi's words. I owe you something, so I won't say anything. However, in front of others I'm Sage Yin Shi, Yin Shi said. In front of others I'll leave you with dignity. However, in front of me you have to be obedient. This is non-negotiable. Night Sorrow warned Yin Shi with his soul power and left the space-time pagoda. He wanted to give Yin Shi time to think. After leaving the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow fell into deep thought. He had many enemies and Father Gu's safety was his weakness. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that he had to persuade Father Gu to go to the city in the sky. Only then would he be at ease. Sumu was not a supremacy. He would be courting death if he went to the city in the sky. Yilinglan was in the city in the sky. Besides, if he was not familiar with the city in the sky, he could not teleport there. After cultivating for a night and having breakfast with Father Gu, Night Sorrow told him his thoughts and concerns about his safety. That's fine. I'll go to the city in the sky with you, Father Gu said. He did not want to be a burden to Night Sorrow and make him worry all the time. Then, Night Sorrow sent Father Gu to the city in the sky and told Yilinglan about Father Gu. Night Moon was young master's adoptive father, so his status was extremely noble. Yilinglan bowed and expressed to Night Sorrow that there would be no problem. After making arrangements for Father Gu, Night Sorrow left. Night Sorrow's 2 potential opponents were Ji Yuhao and Su Mu. However, the city in the sky was not a place where the 2 of them could behave atrociously. As for Qin Shen's matter, Night Sorrow did not want to give up. After returning to the Qingtian territory, Night Sorrow went to Qinji Tower and went to the secret tower. In the secret tower, Night Sorrow saw Lin Yuandao and Guishao. Kid, why are you back again? Lin Yuandao asked. He was genuinely happy that Night Sorrow had returned safely. If something had happened to young Master Night Sorrow, it would have been a huge blow to Qinji Tower. Help me put up a bounty. I must catch him, Night Sorrow said. Who? Guishao asked. Qin Shen and Su Mu. Qin Shen betrayed my adoptive father. He must be caught. Also, Su Mu threatened to kill me. He's an unscrupulous person. I want to find him and kill him first to prevent future trouble, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow also wanted to kill Ji Yuhao, but he was wanted with great fanfare. It was equivalent to declaring war on the Ji Yu family. Night Sorrow did not have the ability to start a war with the Ji Yu family, so he planned to endure it for now. Qin Shen has been captured by Qinji Tower and is now in the dungeon. As for Sumu, I'll take care of it. Do you need him alive? If not, issue a kill order, Guishao said. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, Qin, I don't want to see him again. I can tolerate other things, but I can't accept repaying kindness with enmity and hurting Father Gu. Director Gu can handle this matter. As for Su Mu, he can't arouse my interest in fighting. If I encounter him, I'll deal with him directly. If it was someone stronger than him, Night Sorrow would kill him himself. Su Mu had already been defeated by him and had not yet entered the Venerable Realm. Night Sorrow felt that there was no need to waste time. This was the mentality of a powerhouse because Su Mu was no longer qualified to be his opponent. There was no point in stepping on an opponent who had been stepped on once. Okay, you're right. There's no need to waste energy on someone who's no match for you, Lin Yuandao said. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow clenched his fists and loosened them. Qin Shen is a pitiful person. Don't kill him. Destroy his cultivation and throw him to Bamboo Garden City. Tell the city lord of Bamboo Garden City that it's my order. Also, don't allow him to take a step out of Bamboo Garden City. Lin Yuandao and Guishao looked at each other and nodded. They also supported Night Sorrow's decision. After giving the instructions, Night Sorrow left. He was now going to the island in the Realm Sea to cultivate. While cultivating, he also had to deal with Inshi's matter. 6 #permanent percenter exemption from FWFT small. Say, he's still kind, Guishao said. Chapter 738. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. After leaving the Tianji Tower, Night Sorrow rushed to the island in the Domain Sea. It was very convenient with the teleportation array. In less than a day, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. At this time, the other members of the god-slaying team were cultivating. No one knew about Night Sorrow's accident. Night Sorrow first went to Wu Lingfei's tent. Have you arranged for old man Gu's matter? Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Yes, I sent him to the city in the sky. It's enough to suffer once. Night Sorrow said. You're right. There are all kinds of people now. There's no bottom line. If you can prevent it, do it. Wu Lingfei nodded. Then Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei went to visit Long Xianxing. It's good that you're back. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let her go. You still have to work hard to cultivate. Strength is the only way to protect yourself. Long Xianxing said. After visiting all the people he should visit, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. After returning to the tent, Night Sorrow entered the space-time pagoda. Seeing Night Sorrow, Inshi stood up and said, What do you want? I'm going to solve your problem now. Are you going to submit or not? Night Sorrow looked at Inshi and asked. Inshi turned her head and didn't answer because she was unwilling to submit. If she didn't submit, her soul would be controlled by Night Sorrow. Then let's fight. Night Sorrow sighed and then shook the soul power left in Inshi's divine pearl. As Night Sorrow's soul power shook, Inshi held her head and fell down. The pain that went deep into the soul was not something she could resist. Little Kong, go to the top floor. Don't come here. Night Sorrow said to Little Kong. There were some things he didn't want Little Kong to know. Okay. Then I'll go to the top floor and not observe this place. Shao Kong then left Night Sorrow's side. Night Sorrow took out a stone stool made of spirit jade and sat on it. Then he began to cultivate. At the same time, his soul power was constantly vibrating. However, Night Sorrow soon gave up on cultivating because Inshi's cries and moans kept ringing out. He just couldn't calm down. Stop. Don't torture me anymore. Or you can just kill me. Inshi raised her head and looked at Yishang. Her eyes were full of begging. I can't kill you. Your cultivation will recover. It just takes time. You're one of the 9 zone's top fighters. I can't just lose you like this. Night Sorrow shook his head and continued to vibrate his soul power. At this moment he wanted to exploit Inshi's pride and make her submit to him. As Night Sorrow's soul power continued to vibrate, Inshi covered her head and fell down again. She couldn't bear the pain that came from the depths of her soul. After half an hour, Inshi, whose face was full of sweat, rolled to Night Sorrow's side. Stop, I admit defeat. /#positive$V version first post. What do you admit? Night Sorrow didn't stop vibrating. He wanted to take Inshi down in one go. Baidu search AI go shao shua www.achux, I admit defeat. Inshi cried out in pain. She was unwilling to admit defeat from the bottom of her heart. Night Sorrow nodded and stopped torturing Inshi's soul. Then he stood up and said, Then I'll say a few things. In front of outsiders, I'll try my best to preserve your dignity. However, in front of me you must obey me. You can't resist at all. In addition, I'll help you to improve your cultivation. Okay. Inshi nodded. After sitting down, Night Sorrow thought for a while and said, Then take off your skirt. Night Sorrow wanted to know if Inshi was absolutely obedient. If she could do it, then there wouldn't be a problem. Can I help you fight? Inshi hesitated. If she really had to take off her clothes in front of Night Sorrow, then she would have nothing in front of Night Sorrow. It seems that you still don't remember what I meant when I said that you must obey me and you can't resist at all. Night Sorrow vibrated his soul power again. He didn't want to do it either, but he had to do it in one go and completely break down Inshi's inner defense. Inshi squatted down again and screamed while covering her head. After holding on for a while, she couldn't take it anymore and shouted for Night Sorrow to stop. Yishang stopped the trembling of his soul power and looked at Inshi. Biting her lips, Inshi closed her eyes and untied her belt. She let her clothes slide off her body. Open your eyes, Night Sorrow said. Then Inshi opened her eyes and there was something sparkling in her eyes. This is the price you have to pay, Night Sorrow said. Inshi looked at Night Sorrow and the disappointment in her heart was indescribable. In the past, Night Sorrow was just an ant that could be crushed at any time in her eyes. But now he controlled her destiny. Just do what I want. Haven't you seen enough? She stared at Night Sorrow and spoke with a hint of arrogance in her words. Originally, looking at She's curvy body, Night Sorrow's lust rose in his heart. However, he planned to leave and didn't think of doing anything. But after listening to She's words, Night Sorrow stood up. He decided to cut off the last trace of She's pride. Taking a step forward, Night Sorrow pulled She and pushed her to the spiritual jade stone block that he was meditating on. Then he untied his robe. Looking at She who was lying on the spiritual jade stone block, Night Sorrow pulled up one of her legs and rushed forward like an angry bird. Following the impact of Night Sorrow, She screamed and cried. Her body couldn't take it and she felt wronged. Night Sorrow had been suppressing it for a long time. At this time he didn't have any scruples like when he was with Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei. He just rushed forward. After half an hour, Night Sorrow was finally done. However, there were no sequelae. He didn't want She to give him a child. After Night Sorrow was done, She was limp. If the last time didn't count, this was her first time. How could she withstand Night Sorrow's violent whipping? Rest well and cultivate. Remember my words. After tidying up his robe, Night Sorrow flashed and left the time-space pagoda. At this time he was embarrassed to face She. Originally he only wanted to subdue She as a fighter. But now it wasn't as simple as subduing a fighter. There were other factors. After resting for a while, She picked up her skirt and put it back on. Then she meditated and cultivated. In She's eyes, cultivation was everything. Even if her soul was controlled, cultivation was still the capital to be valued. Night Sorrow made a pot of tea and drank it to ease his mood. He felt that what he did was a little wrong. However, he didn't blame himself. It could only be said that everything was brought upon by She. After leaving the tent, Night Sorrow went to the water source again and asked Little Kong if he could get some water from the time-space pagoda. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Little Kong replied that there was no problem. Chapter 739. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go/Small? Show.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Xiao Kong was also amazing. She directly created a pool in the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. She was the master of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, so she could do whatever she wanted. Xiao Kong moved the pool to the higher levels and also move her there. She will listen to me in the future, so cultivation is more important. It is good that she can recover as soon as possible, Night Sorrow said to Xiao Kong. Okay, get her to the 60th level. Any higher and it will be the power of space. It is meaningless for her. Xiao Kong communicated with Yi Shiwen. Okay, then move her and the pool to the 60th level, Night Sorrow said to Xiao Kong. Then Xiao Kong did as Night Sorrow said. Shi, who had been moved, woke up from her meditation. Feeling the dense spirit chi in the pool, Shi was stunned. She did not expect this situation. I don't like the feeling of emptiness here. It is very depressing. Next time I go to the city, I will buy things myself. Shi said. Okay, this is where you live. If you make it stinky, you have to bear it. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, Bastard, what are you thinking? Even if my cultivation is greatly damaged, I am still a high-level venerable. How can this happen? Although she was controlled by Night Sorrow, she could not help but curse. Okay then. I just want to remind you. If something happens, your god orb will vibrate and I will know. Night Sorrow said to Shi and left the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda again. After Night Sorrow left, Shi sat on the futon. She did not cultivate but fell into deep thought. She had been in despair for the past few days, but now Night Sorrow's attitude made her feel that Night Sorrow was not a bad person. She also had the desire to live in her heart. After leaving the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, Night Sorrow took out the Space Splitter Spear and started cultivating. He had completely let go of the matter with Shi. He planned to go to the Domain C to stabilize his cultivation. When his cultivation was completely stable, he could eat the Dragon Spirit Pill and continue to improve his cultivation. Night Sorrow was cultivating when Wu Lingfei came over. Auntie Fei is here. Seeing Auntie Fei makes me feel at ease. Night Sorrow sat down at the tea table and said, Aunt Fei, don't say that. Along the way you've helped me too much. Night Sorrow is truly grateful. Knowing Aunt Fei is Night Sorrow's fortune. Night Sorrow took the teapot and poured a cup of tea for Wu Lingfei. There's no need to be so courteous with Auntie Fei. Let's work hard together. The world is so chaotic right now. We can't do anything without strength, Wu Lingfei said. Auntie Fei, you don't have to be too tired. I will work hard. When I have the ability, I will take care of things. Night Sorrow nodded to Wu Lingfei. In Auntie Fei's eyes, you are the best. Don't tire yourself out. After instructing Night Sorrow and asking about Night Sorrow's soul avatar, Wu Lingfei left. Night Sorrow's avatar in the Phantom Dao Stone was becoming more and more solid. However, its size didn't increase by much. It was only half the size of a human head. If he wanted to cultivate it successfully, he still had a long way to go. Night Sorrow then entered the Realm Sea and rushed toward the spatial storms. Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi were surprised when they saw Night Sorrow's figure. Chuyu, we didn't see Night Sorrow go out, right? Why did that guy come in from outside? Yang Lei, who was very close to Sikong Chuyu, asked. Yeah, I'm also very puzzled. Maybe he came out from somewhere else. Let's consolidate our cultivation. He improved faster than us in there. In addition, there was already a gap between us. If we don't work hard, the gap will only grow bigger. Sikong Chuyu said. She didn't want to be a vase. She wanted to be a woman who could fight side by side with Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow entered the area where he used to cultivate. Then, he used his movement technique and began to cultivate. After cultivating for a while, Night Sorrow entered the space-time pagoda and directly went to the 60th floor. Sensing Night Sorrow's arrival, Inshi opened her eyes. Looking at Inshi, Night Sorrow felt a little emotional. In the past, Inshi was arrogant and insufferably arrogant. Now that she didn't have such arrogance, she was more pleasing to the eye. She had a different style and a feminine charm. What do you want? You just did it this morning. Are you crazy? Seeing Night Sorrow's gaze, Inshi took 2 steps back. What dirty things are you thinking about? I'm cultivating in the spatial turbulence of the Realm Sea. I consumed too much energy and came here to recover. Noticing Inshi's beast-like gaze, Night Sorrow said speechlessly. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Inshi heaved a sigh of relief. She was very scared. Although her first time was very short, it still caused a lot of damage to her body. This morning, Night Sorrow's wild impact was not something she could withstand. Will there be any drawbacks of your true chi being unstable if you cultivate quickly? Night Sorrow asked after thinking for a while. There will be, but it will be much faster than normal cultivation. After all, it's recovery, not improvement. Inshi said. Then come with me to the spatial turbulence of the Realm Sea to cultivate, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. That won't do. If I suppress my cultivation, it won't have the effect of tempering. If I release my cultivation, those bastards will sense it. They will know my aura. Inshi said. Then it's up to you. Night Sorrow said and then sat down to recover. In the following days, Night Sorrow cultivated in the spatial turbulence. Inshi also cultivated on the 60th floor of the spacetime pagoda. Her way of consolidating her cultivation was to cultivate her sword skills. Most %0 new, Chapter J on FQ. After another cultivation session, Night Sorrow entered the spacetime pagoda. He planned to leave the Realm Sea after recovering for a while and eat dragon spirit pills to improve his cultivation. My future can be said to be fighting for you. Can you teach me your body tempering cultivation method? Inshi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. During this period of time, the two of them got along well. Inshi didn't have too much hostility towards him. The two of them even burned with passion once. You can't cultivate this. You started from a low level. However, I can give you some resources to improve your blood chi. Night Sorrow said and took out 2 pieces of ice spirit blood essence. Inshi glanced at Night Sorrow and put away the ice spirit blood essence. I'll give you the treasures to replenish your blood chi. As for what you do with them, I don't care. Night Sorrow said. Chapter 740. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? Let's provide you with interesting novels to read. You're too shameless. You're still thinking about this? Night Sorrow looked at Inshi in surprise. This is also because you've done shameless things. You always act recklessly and don't leave me any blood essence power. Inshi looked at Night Sorrow and said angrily. What are you angry about? If I leave it for you, what if you have ulterior motives and make a child? Night Sorrow glared at Inshi. I won't do that. I'll refine it. Inshi made a promise. Okay, we'll talk about this later. Night Sorrow looked at Inshi and said. After recovering, Night Sorrow left the spatial storm area of the Realm Sea. Night Sorrow came back just in time. The members of the god-slaying team were all resting. Seeing Night Sorrow come back, everyone called Night Sorrow to eat barbecue and drink wine together. Everyone is doing well. Cultivate hard. We don't lack elixirs and resources. If you need them, you can get them from Liyue. Night Sorrow sat beside Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi and shouted to the others. Ah, of course. We don't lack resources. Nan Liyue smiled. It's really good. Everyone is really hardworking. I used to think that my cultivation was crazy. Now I realize that I'm lacking compared to everyone, Liang Yu said. What you need to improve is your cultivation. When your cultivation reaches a certain level, your cultivation must catch up. Night Sorrow reminded Liang Yu. After eating some barbecue, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. Aoi and the others followed Night Sorrow into the tent. 6th senior sister, 9th senior sister, and Chuyu, don't tire yourself out. Just do enough. Night Sorrow said. You should take care of yourself. No matter how hard we work, we won't be as tired as you. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow smiled and got up to make tea for the girls. You're really obedient today. Did you do something wrong to us? That shouldn't be the case. You're right under our noses, Yang Lei muttered. Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment. He couldn't help but admire a woman's sensitivity. He did feel a little guilty in his heart because he also had that kind of thing with Yin Shi, but he didn't expect Yang Lei to have this kind of awareness. Baidu search AI go female sign xiao say www.ichuxs.com. Ha 13 must be tired. 9th junior sister, what are you mumbling about? Always said with a smile. After chatting for a while, everyone went to bed. Night Sorrow laid on the bed that Aoi had prepared for him. Night Sorrow pondered. He wondered if he had betrayed his feelings for Yang Lei, Sikong Chuyu, and Aoi because of Yin Shi. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that he hadn't. Because he had no choice back then. Even if there was a continuation, it was a physical problem and had nothing to do with feelings. As he pondered, Night Sorrow fell asleep. After sleeping for a night, Night Sorrow felt refreshed when he woke up. After washing his face, Night Sorrow held the Space Splitter Spear and cultivated the spear's concept. As soon as Night Sorrow finished cultivating, Aoi called Night Sorrow over for breakfast. I had a good sleep last night. Night Sorrow put away the Space Splitter Spear and said as he stretched. When it's time to rest, you should take a break. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said. Her heart ached when she saw Night Sorrow cultivating with all his might. It's the same for you guys. Cultivation base isn't something that can be obtained in a day or two. Night Sorrow said while eating. After that, Night Sorrow told them about his plan to go into seclusion and consume the Dragon Spirit Pill. Then he told them to do it steadily. After seeing that the members of the God-slaying team had gone to cultivate, Night Sorrow went to visit Wu Lingfei again. Only then did he return to his tent and go into seclusion. He wanted to consume the Dragon Spirit Pill and improve his cultivation base as soon as possible. While Night Sorrow was in seclusion, Tianyu was lying in front of the tent. It was also in a state of cultivation. It had already reached the peak of the Void Inquiry stage long ago. It was just that it had yet to break through to the Venerable Realm. On the 10th day of Night Sorrow's seclusion, Tianyu flew to Wu Lingfei's tent and pulled her to the entrance of Night Sorrow's tent. Then it flew away. It asked me to guard Night Sorrow. Could it be that it's going to make a breakthrough? Wu Lingfei was very shocked. After that, she took out the spiritual jade block that Night Sorrow gave her and sat down in front of the entrance of Night Sorrow's tent. On the 20th day, Night Sorrow finished refining the Dragon Spirit Pill and improved his cultivation base to the peak of the 2nd level of the Venerable Realm as he wished. After stabilizing his cultivation base, Night Sorrow went out of the tent. He did not see Tianyu but saw Wu Lingfei who was meditating. Night Sorrow was very surprised. The pill has been refined. You have to pay attention to your foundation. Wu Lingfei stood up and kept the spiritual jade block. Wasn't Tianyu supposed to guard for me? How did it become anti-Fei? Night Sorrow asked as he led Wu Lingfei into the tent. This fellow might have gone to find a place to advance. When it appears again, it might be a Venerable Realm monster. Wu Lingfei said. That means that Tianyu is about to transform. Night Sorrow said excitedly. Hearing that Tianyu was about to enter the Venerable Realm, Night Sorrow was very happy. If Night Sorrow's first friend after leaving Bamboo Garden Village was Qin Zhen, then his first companion was Tianyu. It's hard to say. It depends on its own decision. Maybe it will transform into a human, or maybe it will maintain the body of a monster. Wu Lingfei said. Yi Shang nodded. He knew that when demonic beasts cultivated to the honorable realm, some would choose to take human form, while some would not. Take Long Shenxing for example, he did not take human form. His current human body was an illusion. Just as Night Sorrow was waiting anxiously, A long cry resounded in the sky. Night Sorrow's 3 steps turned into 2 as he rushed out of the tent. He could tell that it was Tianyu's cry. Only G is the official asterisk version. Use G other U all A caret is the stolen F version. In the sky above the god-slaying squad's camp, Tianyu was circling back and forth, occasionally using a spatial jump. At this time Tianyu's spatial jump was very far away. It was equivalent to disappearing into thin air and reappearing in another place. His flying speed was also very fast, leaving afterimages behind him. Tianyu did not transform. Night Sorrow suddenly felt a little disappointed. You don't have to think too much. This is his decision. He must have his own reasons. Wu Lingfei could feel Night Sorrow's disappointment. Night Sorrow nodded and looked at Tianyu, who was soaring in the sky. At this time Tianyu's aura was shocking. Every time he flew, it was as though he was fighting with the sky. It was a real eagle soaring into the sky. After flying a few rounds, Tianyu used a spatial jump, then dived down and landed in front of Night Sorrow. The Tianyu that landed in front of Night Sorrow was no longer a handsome bird, but a young man in white robes. Night Sorrow looked at this young man and shook his head. He knew that this young man's body was an illusion. Night Sorrow, I am Tianyu. The young man in white robes, who was Tianyu, said. Why didn't you choose to transform? Yishan asked, puzzled. You still need a mount. I don't want you to not be used to it. This is also good, Tianyu said. Night Sorrow went up and hugged Tianyu. He didn't know that this was the reason Tianyu didn't transform. It was because Night Sorrow still needed a mount. Chapter 741. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow, perhaps Tianyu's decision was right. The Azure Rock is a rare beast on the Ancient Beast ranking. Is very talented. Keeping the Azure Rock's body will be beneficial to his future, and his combat strength will also increase. Wu Lingfei opened her mouth and said. That's right, Wu Lingfei said. In order to retain the Azure Rock body, I had to endure 2 lightning tribulations. Thankfully, I have comprehended the phantom body. Otherwise, I would have been in trouble, Tianyu said with a chuckle. Dalaku update D new hashtag #LMostJ. Hurry up X9, it's a good thing that you've successfully advanced. Let's drink to celebrate. By the way, you're an adult now, right? Night Sorrow said as he took out a jug of wine. Not yet. My body can still grow. That's why I've kept the Azure Rock body, Tianyu said. The Venerable One is still underage. Haha Tianyu, your future is limitless, Night Sorrow said happily. It is indeed a good thing. Wu Lingfei was also happy for Tianyu. Night Sorrow, can I call you Brother Shirsan like Qingjin? Tianyu asked after taking a sip of wine. Naturally, we've always been brothers who fought side by side, Night Sorrow said with a smile. After drinking the wine, Wu Lingfei left. Night Sorrow's side was going well, so she felt more at ease. After drinking, Tianyu returned to his original form and rushed into the realm sea. He planned to cultivate in the spatial turbulence. Looking at Tianyu's figure, Night Sorrow didn't stop him. Tianyu had the space attribute. In the space turbulence, his ability to protect himself should be very strong. After that, Night Sorrow went to the chaotic streams of space in the realm sea to cultivate. As they watched Night Sorrow rush into the depths of the realm sea, the members of the god-slaying squad cultivated even more vigorously, as they knew that their captain's cultivation base had improved once again. This guy is amazing, Liang Yu said with some emotion. What's wrong with you? Half a month ago, didn't you cultivate up to the one with heaven stage? Ling Long asked Liang Yu. I'll go back and break through in a bit. I'm not going to wait any longer. I can't afford to wait any longer. If I keep waiting, who knows how far this captain will run away. Liang Yu roared. Night Sorrow went deeper into the chaotic streams of space within the realm sea. Next, he began to temper his defensive barrier of true energy. After cultivating for 2 hours, Night Sorrow switched to his innate bloodline's protective barrier. When the 2 types of energy were almost exhausted, Night Sorrow's figure flashed into the space-time treasure pagoda. Late level 2 Venerable. What kind of cultivation speed is this? Seeing Night Sorrow enter, Yin Shi, who was originally cultivating, stood up. Night Sorrow took the teapot on the tea table in front of Yin Shi and poured himself a cup of water and said, I have the Dragon Spirit Pill, so of course my cultivation speed is not a problem. It's just that it takes time to consolidate my cultivation. Indeed, the Dragon Spirit Pill is a heaven-defying pill. Give me some more. Yin Shi said. Didn't I give you 3? Night Sorrow said with a frown. 3? I refine one pill every 2 days and then consolidate it in 7 days. Why do you say 3 pills are not a problem? She said. What's your cultivation level now? Night Sorrow asked. I've recovered to level 9 venerable. She glanced at Night Sorrow and said. A high cultivation level is indeed powerful. Here are 20 pills. Use them as you see fit. If I find out that you don't care about your foundation and break the pot, I won't let you off. Night Sorrow took out a pill bottle and threw it to Shi. 20 pills? Where did you get so many? Shi opened the pill bottle and took out the dragon spirit pill. After taking a look, she asked with some surprise. Are the pills refined by me okay? Night Sorrow said angrily. She didn't have the awareness of a submissive and wanted to ask about everything. At your age, you've cultivated to the venerable realm and are an alchemy grandmaster. You've even been recognized as the master of the pagoda of time and space. This is heaven-defying luck. I shouldn't have provoked you back then. She muttered in a low voice. Instead of saying this to Night Sorrow, it was better to say it to herself. Regret? That night. Night Sorrow drank a mouthful of water and said, Why do you have the origin energy in your body? She asked at this time. In the past, she didn't have close contact with Night Sorrow and didn't pay much attention to observing him, so she didn't notice anything. However, after 2 skin-to-skin contact, she discovered it. Anyway, you're a grasshopper in my palm and can't jump out. It's okay to tell you. I have the sovereign attribute Heavenly Fate Jewel. I also have the sovereign attribute. It's just that I usually hide it with the black jade spiritual energy. Night Sorrow said. Sovereign attribute? She looked at Night Sorrow from head to toe. After that, Night Sorrow activated his void chi without hiding it. A light purple protective chi circulated around Night Sorrow's body. It was very beautiful. She took 2 steps back and her expression changed. This is the void attribute. No wonder my soul power couldn't block your soul power attack. I guess your soul power is also of the void attribute. Yes, it is. Night Sorrow nodded. Ji Yuhao said that his time sword chi couldn't cut your body. With the sovereign attribute protecting you, of course his time sword chi couldn't hurt you. Shi said. No, at that time my void chi wasn't as strong as it is now. The reason why his time sword chi couldn't hurt me was that my body was very strong. In addition, I have other high-level elemental energies that can restrain his time sword chi. Night Sorrow didn't hide anything from Shi, who had completely controlled him. There are elemental energies that can restrain the time sword chi? Shi stared at Night Sorrow. Then take a look at this. Night Sorrow activated the myriad Tao Tomes energy and performed the Desolation's Hand. After performing the Desolation's Hand, Night Sorrow's hand appeared. The scene changed quickly, with the merciless changes of time in the middle. Is this also the time sword chi? Shi's eyes were filled with fear. The power that Night Sorrow had displayed was too terrifying. It is the desolation power of the time sword chi. To be exact, it is the time sword chi. Ji Yuhao's time sword chi can slow down time while my time sword chi can speed up time. We can control each other. After Night Sorrow withdrew the Desolation's Hand, he sat down cross-legged and began to recover. Night Sorrow didn't want to show off in front of Shi. He just wanted to shock her and make her submit to him. In fact, Shi was really shocked. The talented Sumu, the time sword chi Ji Yuhao, she knew that these people were nothing in front of Night Sorrow. Even if her cultivation was higher than Night Sorrow's, so what? Night Sorrow had the power to fight against people with higher cultivation. If he didn't have the power, he wouldn't have been able to turn the tables. After an hour, Night Sorrow had recovered to his peak state. He planned to go back to the space turbulence to continue his cultivation. Night Sorrow, can you be nicer to me? She looked at Night Sorrow and asked. As long as you are obedient, I can be nicer to you. What's the matter? Night Sorrow asked. Chapter 742. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? I will provide you with wonderful novels to read. Well, it's not appropriate for me to take it for free. I'll give you some top-grade spirit stones, but you should wait until you become a saint. At that time, the effect of the dragon spirit pill will not be great. Love go little say. Night Sorrow took out 10 top-grade spirit stones and handed them to Shi. Although Shi had been subdued and was no different from a maid, Night Sorrow did not want to exploit her. Sometimes, a man had to be responsible. As for the Holy Spirit Stone, Night Sorrow would not take it out. He had prepared it for himself in the future, and it was not a resource that could be exchanged casually. Besides, one Holy Spirit stone could be exchanged for 100 top-grade Spirit stones. At present, there was no resource that could be equal to the Holy Spirit stone. So much. Inshi was stunned. Well, take it. If you don't replenish your strength when I need your help one day, you will be killed. Then, I will have wasted my energy to deal with you and wasted my resources to help you recover, Night Sorrow said. Kill me? Long Xianxing and Xialanjun have cultivated longer than me. Otherwise, I would be afraid of them, Inshi muttered. Love go little say, Chu well be humble. Night Sorrow said. If I hadn't met a shameless person like you, would I have gone mad and capsized? Inshi was very conflicted when it came to this issue. You don't have such a big mouth. If you can't eat such a big thing, who can you blame? Night Sorrow said and left the time-space pagoda. He entered the space turbulence and began to cultivate. After Yishang left, Inshi had no target to scold even if she wanted to. Of course she knew what Yishang meant. She really couldn't bear Yishang's greatness, but it wouldn't be nice to say it. In the space turbulence, Night Sorrow practiced his movement technique and also sharpened his newly improved True Qi. If sharpening the Qi shield was to increase the density of True Qi, then using the spear to fight with the space turbulence was to cultivate the degree of control of True Qi. 2 hours later, Night Sorrow returned to the space-time pagoda. Can I have a cup of hot tea? Night Sorrow asked as he took out a jade stool and sat down. Look at D version of chapter HF on. After hesitating for a while, Inshi still did it. Night Sorrow, I have something to say. That day, if it wasn't for my sudden problem, did you have other methods? Inshi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. She knew that what happened that day was an accident, and now she understood that Night Sorrow must have other trump cards. That day you acted a little too early and messed up my plan. If you had acted a little later, I would have broken the seal on my primary energy. Then I would have used the Night Moon Dynasty's innate skill, Spatial Rend, to tear apart space and escape. In truth, I was just a little bit late, but the result would have been completely different, Night Sorrow said. In other words, if I hadn't acted that day and was a little late, you would have used Spatial Rend to escape? Inshi asked. Yes, so you were a little unlucky. But it's over, so don't think about it anymore. Since fate is like this, then cherish the future, Night Sorrow said. Maybe you're right. Inshi nodded. Night Sorrow drank a cup of tea and meditated to recover his cultivation. After recovering for a while, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate in the space turbulence. Don't be confused. Night Sorrow has such achievements at his age. It's not a coincidence. He worked hard enough. The harder he works, the luckier he gets, Xiao Kong said. Xiao Kong didn't have the ability to speak in other places, but she could in the space-time pagoda. Inshi nodded and meditated to cultivate. This was the benefit of having a high state of mind. Many things could be understood by thinking about it. Now that things had come to this, Inshi knew that it was useless to resist. She might as well make some achievements in her cultivation and live a better life on the current premise. Inshi was also glad that Night Sorrow had a big heart. Even though he had subdued her, he didn't make things too difficult for her. After cultivating again, Inshi spoke when she was about to recover. I've refined your ice spirit blood essence. I still need to improve my chi and blood power. Baidu search AI go xiao shua www.achux.com. Are you eating resources? Can I afford to raise them? Yishan said with some surprise. Don't you have ready-made ones? Give them to me now. Inshi's face was a little red. You have a bottom line. I don't have any more ice spirit blood essence, but I have better ones. Take it easy. Night Sorrow took out 2 black tortoise crystals. If I cultivate like this, won't I be your fighter in the future? Inshi took the black tortoise crystals and said. What did you say just now? You want mine? Then I'll give it to you. Little Kong, you hide. Night Sorrow was also a little tired from cultivating. He was a little angry when he heard Inshi's words. Little Kong was very obedient. He left immediately and went to the other layers. This time Inshi was very cooperative. Plus, she was already used to it, so she was very crazy. Remember, this is for you to improve your cultivation. If you dare to scheme against me, I won't tolerate it. No matter what the situation is, I won't tolerate it. Night Sorrow said to Inshi after he tidied up his robe. Looking at Night Sorrow's eyes, Inshi nodded. She knew that Night Sorrow was serious. There were some bottom lines that a man couldn't cross. Yishang was meditating to recover. Inshi also put on her silk dress and went to cultivate. She was refining Yishang's yang qi according to the cultivation method that she had tricked her into. She was using it to strengthen her own qi blood and essence qi. After recovering, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate in the spatial turbulence. He knew that Inshi's matter was still troublesome, so he could only keep it hidden. Once Inshi showed up, Sikong Chuyu Aoi and Yang Lei would definitely be angry. Yang Lei would definitely be furious. After cultivating for half a month, Night Sorrow realized that something was wrong. The spatial turbulence became violent. This situation made Night Sorrow retreat. He wanted to train himself, but he wasn't going to play with his life. While retreating, Night Sorrow discovered a special situation. There were loach-like creatures in the spatial turbulence. These creatures were very fast and there were many of them. One of them was even rushing towards Night Sorrow. Unable to see the creature's cultivation, Night Sorrow waved his space-splitting spear and attacked. The creature was sent flying by Night Sorrow's spear. However, it was fine. With a shake of its body, it rushed towards Yi Shiwen's head again. There wasn't enough time to attack again. Night Sorrow executed the soul-destroying slash and directly slashed at the pitch-black loach creature. This pitch-black creature was hit by Night Sorrow's soul-destroying slash. It twitched for a while and then stopped moving. Night Sorrow grabbed the body of this pitch-black creature with his left hand and retreated outside. This was because many such creatures had appeared at this time. Night Sorrow used his spatial energy shield to rush outside at his fastest speed. These pitch-black creatures started to chase after him at an extremely fast speed. They weren't afraid of the spatial turbulence at all. Retreat. Everyone retreat quickly. Hurry to the shore. Night Sorrow shouted when he was not far away from the members of the god-slaying team. Then he turned around and attacked with his spear. He couldn't bring danger to the members of the god-slaying team. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear couldn't kill these creatures. It could only send them flying. At this time he executed his fastest spear technique because there were too many dark creatures. Chapter 743. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? I'll provide you with some wonderful novels to read. After using spatial rend, Night Sorrow's figure flashed into it. At the same time he waved his arm and closed the spatial tunnel. Then he controlled his body to travel through the turbulence. 10 miles, 20 miles. When he was 20 miles away, Night Sorrow sensed that he was out of the turbulent space. He used spatial rend again and walked out of the spatial rift. Then, his figure flashed a few times and arrived at the edge of the realm sea. "Captain, what are you doing?" Liang Yu asked in astonishment when he saw Night Sorrow appear out of thin air. He didn't understand. "Let's talk about this later. From today onwards, without my orders, no one is allowed to take half a step into the realm sea. Xueling Hojian, when you see the team return, stay in the camp and cultivate." Night Sorrow gave the order to Liang Yu. It wasn't that Night Sorrow was nervous. He knew that this black loach was too terrifying. He knew how powerful his spear attack was. Even so, he couldn't kill it. Anyone else who encountered it would be dead. Night Sorrow went to Wu Lingfei's tent. "Aunt Fei, what kind of creature is this?" Night Sorrow took out the corpse of the black creature he killed with soul-extinguishing slash. "It's in the turbulent space of the realm sea. There are too many of them. If I didn't run quickly, I would have been surrounded. This creature isn't afraid of my spear attack." Night Sorrow said. "This is serious. Let's go find Long Xianxing," Wu Lingfei said. Then Wu Lingfei brought Night Sorrow to the eastern Shen region's camp. Looking at the black creature's corpse, Long Xianxing nodded. "It's a spatial soul-eater beast. Now, our people can no longer enter the turbulent space of the realm sea to cultivate. It's very difficult to kill them." Following Long Xuanxing's explanation, Night Sorrow learned what a spatial soul-eater beast was. The spatial soul-devouring beast was a creature that lived in the spatial turbulence. Their defense was extremely strong and it was difficult for swords to injure them. Their speed was extremely fast and they could almost ignore the defense of chi shields. They were good at shuttling through the spatial turbulence, so breaking through a cultivator's chi shield was not difficult. The spatial soul-eater beast loved to devour the soul energy of creatures and was most afraid of soul energy attacks. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow could kill it, but it was very difficult for others to do so. This should be the space soul-devouring beast that was suppressed in the space below the Clear Sky City. The Clear Sky City has been rising, so the space soul-devouring beast below has appeared. This has increased the difficulty of entering the Clear Sky City. Long Xianxing said. "That's right. Even venerables can't face the encirclement of the soul-eater beasts," Wu Lingfei said. "Does that mean that no one below the Saint Stage can get close to Haoyin City?" Night Sorrow asked in surprise. "That's not it. The space soul eater beast likes to live in the turbulent space. Once the energy around Haoyan City dissipates, they will naturally leave. Long Xianxing said. That's good. Night Sorrow breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't want to lose the opportunity to explore the clear sky city. Hurry up and get on J. Eat. Don't go to the domain C to cultivate for the time being. Go back. Do what you need to do. When the clear sky city appears, I will send someone to inform you. Long Xianxing looked at Night Sorrow and said. Alright, then I will take them back first. Night Sorrow nodded. Then Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei left the camp of the Eastern Profound Domain. Looking at Night Sorrow, Wu Lingfei said, Then I will send you back to the city in the sky. You also need to rest. Auntie Fei, you do what you need to do. I will be fine. Inshi will not touch me again. I don't care about the others. I'm not afraid of anyone who wants to fight. Night Sorrow said. But Auntie Fei is still worried. Wu Lingfei said. Auntie Fei, I enjoy your protection, but I am not young anymore. You can rest assured. Night Sorrow said. That's fine. Inshi won't touch you, but you still have to be careful. There are still remnants of the Windy Dynasty. You're famous now, and all the cultivators of the 9 realms know about you. They all know that if they defeat or kill you, they'll get fate. That's the source of all the trouble, said Wu Lingfei to Yishang. I will be careful. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You also have to be careful of the Jiyu family. We have received news that Jiyu Fenglan has entered the Saint Realm. He is a space saint and has strong combat power. You have a grudge against the Jiyu family. They will not let you grow. This bastard is really malicious. Night Sorrow cursed. The Jiyu family is an old family. They still have their own luck and won't fall so easily. Also, the 7-star saint has also appeared. He is not on the same side as us. The 7-star dynasty will still make a move. Wu Lingfei told him about the recent developments of the 9 regions. The world is really chaotic. Night Sorrow rubbed his hair and said, Yes, the 9 regions world is very complicated. Some hidden cultivators will come out because this is a time of chaos and great battles, said Wu Lingfei. There are many saints? Didn't they say that without source stones and saint crystals, it is impossible to comprehend the power of laws? Night Sorrow asked in puzzlement. Think about it. Didn't the Sea Heart Island in the Northern Sea region display the power of laws? When we went to the Death Domain, did the Heaven Vault display the power of laws? Some peak paragons would have a chance to enter the Saint Realm if they found such a place. This is also the reason why Yun Tianlong wanted to seize the Sea Heart Island. That is a place that can create saints. Wu Lingfei explained to Night Sorrow. Wu Lingfei was usually a person of few words. But when she was with Night Sorrow, she was very patient. As long as there was something Night Sorrow didn't understand, she would explain it in detail. I understand. With the appearance of Clear Sky City, some hidden experts will jump out. Night Sorrow said. Yes. Also, ordinary powers wouldn't be able to nurture a peak paragon. In other words, the saints who can cultivate in special environments are all the ancestors of the various powers. Among them, there might be people from the various dynasties who are a match for the Night Moon Dynasty. Wu Lingfei explained to Night Sorrow. I understand. I will be careful. And Fei, thank you. Night Sorrow bowed to Wu Lingfei. There's no need to be so polite with Aunt Fei. If there's anything, just tell Aunt Fei. You are the closest person to Aunt Fei in this world. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. After that, Night Sorrow left. He really wanted to tell Wu Lingfei about Yin Shi, but he was worried that Wu Lingfei wouldn't forgive him. Because this matter was a little too shameless and went overboard. After walking for a distance, Night Sorrow stopped. Night Sorrow, don't tell me you intend to tell Wu Lingfei about this matter? Yin Shi spoke. Chapter 744. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with interesting novels to read. Yin Shi was a smart person. She noticed Night Sorrow's hesitation and knew what Night Sorrow was thinking. Night Sorrow went to the forest beside the campsite and entered the Spacetime Pagoda in a flash. Yin Shi, I didn't lie to anyone and I don't want to hide anything from my Auntie Fei. She is very worried that you will do something bad to me. However, I didn't say anything even though I knew you wouldn't do anything to me. This makes me feel very guilty. Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi and said, I beg you. Can you leave me some dignity? Yin Shi's eyes were pleading. Yin Shi, the people around me will know about this sooner or later. Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi and said, Then let's take it one step at a time. Yin Shi also understood this logic. All right. Work hard on your cultivation. Night Sorrow thought for a while and nodded. Yin Shi was very honest now. He didn't want to embarrass Inshi too much and cause her to have a rebellious mentality. After that, Night Sorrow came out of the forest and led the members of the god-slaying team onto the airship and rushed towards How High City. Leader, I don't understand. Why didn't you let us enter the spatial turbulence to cultivate? Yun Huang asked. There are great terrors there. I almost got into trouble. Night Sorrow then told them about his encounter with the spatial Soul Eater beasts. Leader's spear attack is ineffective? Ling Long looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. It's not that it's ineffective. It's just that it can push them back and send them flying. It can't kill them. They are only afraid of soul attacks. If you are surrounded by those Soul Eater beasts, you should know the result. Night Sorrow said. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, the others fell into deep thought. If even Night Sorrow couldn't withstand it, they would die if they went in. Everyone has gained a lot during this period of time. Even if we can't go in again, we should be content. Night Sorrow said. The others nodded. During this period of time, everyone had made great progress. Not only had their cultivation improved a lot, but it was also very solid. Soon the group returned to Sky City. When the girls saw Papa Goo, they were stunned. Night Sorrow was also shocked. He had forgotten to discuss with Papa Goo that he should hide the fact that he had been kidnapped. Hee, what are you all standing there for? Take a seat. Old Man Goo said. Night Sorrow shook his head at Daddy Goo. He hoped that Daddy Goo would understand what he meant. Old Mr. Goo smiled and instantly understood what Night Sorrow meant. During the chat, he had said that he had come because he missed everyone. Night Sorrow let out a sigh of relief. He really didn't want the girls to worry. If Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei and Aoi knew about it, they would be very worried. Yang Lei was about to curse again. Dinner was a family banquet. Night Sorrow called for Chanyu, who had transformed into a human form. Everyone ate together and drank some wine. Then, Night Sorrow said that he would bring Papa Goo around Sky City and left the mansion alone with Papa Goo. Thank you, Papa, for hiding it for me. Night Sorrow said after leaving the mansion. You were also afraid that they would be worried. What you did was right. When something happens, men have to shoulder it. But don't tire yourself too much. You will be husband and wife in the future. There's nothing that can't be said. Papa Goo said. Then Night Sorrow and Yi Linglan also said that they had to hide this matter. Then they accompanied Papa Goo around Sky City before returning to the mansion. Night Sorrow gave Papa Goo a few bottles of top-grade low-grade elixirs. Papa Goo also returned to the attic that the servants had arranged for him. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow went to the lakeside. At this moment, Chanyu, who had drunk some wine, was lying on the ground and cultivating. He could transform into a human, but his cultivation speed was very fast. Night Sorrow took out his extra storage ring and handed it to Chanyu, who was standing beside him in human form. Then he took out the Dragon Spirit Pill and told Chanyu about the Dragon Spirit Pill. Then he took out a bottle of Life Spirit Liquid and Origin Spirit Liquid and explained how to use it. Thank you, 13th brother. Chanyu nodded at Night Sorrow. You have the spatial attribute. I have a spatial crystal here. Take it and cultivate. Night Sorrow took out 2 spatial crystals. I don't need this. My spatial attribute can be strengthened and improved. 13th brother, you don't have to worry about me. Chanyu said. Night Sorrow nodded and let Chanyu cultivate. He went to the wooden boat and brewed a pot of tea. After drinking a pot of tea, he returned to the mansion. You're back. Did you feel more relaxed after walking around? Yang Lei asked Night Sorrow. Yes, much more relaxed. Where's 6th senior sister? Night Sorrow asked when he didn't see Aoi. Unspecified currency on the latest chapter Y section. 6th senior sister is cultivating very hard. She went back the moment you and Old Man Goo went out. She's probably cultivating. Yang Lei said. Sigh. This is because of me. Night Sorrow sighed. Aoi wasn't like this in the past. 13th brother, people have to change. There's nothing wrong with changing your lifestyle. Not to mention other things, a higher cultivation level means a longer lifespan, Yang Lei said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that cultivators were fighting against the heavens. There was nothing wrong with cultivating hard. After drinking a pot of tea, Night Sorrow smiled. Are we going to rest too? Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu ignored Night Sorrow and walked to the bedroom hand in hand. Night Sorrow followed them in. They hadn't been together for a long time. It was inevitable that there would be a fire burning. Chuyu, do you feel it? 13th brother has become much more violent. He's not as gentle as before, Yang Lei said as she leaned on the bed. That's right. I can't take it anymore. He almost broke my leg, Sikong Chuyu said with a red face. Night Sorrow smiled embarrassedly. He had been very repressed recently. When he was with Yin Shi, he didn't restrain himself, so he was used to it. Then the three of them chatted for a while and sat down to cultivate. Yishang was also at the stage of stabilizing his cultivation. Not only his vital energy, but his cultivation of the myriad Dao tome had also reached the peak of the Dao querying realm after this period of cultivation. He was also in a stable state. Once he had accumulated enough, Yishang would break through to the venerable realm, which was the myriad Dao tome's spirit refinement realm. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow woke up early to cultivate his spear art and intent realm. After breakfast, the three of them went to the martial arts arena. The main thing was to keep pace with the group. Night Sorrow went to the lake and cultivated his spear art. He improved his compatibility with the Space Splitter Spear and his true chi control. As for the myriad Dao tome's advancement, Night Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. He just wanted to let nature take its course. After cultivating his spear art for a while, Night Sorrow started to cultivate the Space Splitter. When he encountered the space-devouring beast in the Realm C, Night Sorrow used the Space Splitter in an emergency. Now, he was going to officially succeed in cultivating the Space Splitter. Chapter 745. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow's 5 bloodline energy points were already saturated with spatial energy. Now he was charging towards the 6th bloodline energy point. In other words, the amount of bloodline energy points he had was the same as some of Night Moon's emperors. As Night Sorrow used the space crack, a black crack appeared in the space in front of him. Then, Night Sorrow used the honorable realm and entered the space turbulence with a wave of his left hand. In the space that was torn apart, the space turbulence was very violent. It was similar to the place where Night Sorrow encountered the golden-furred beast's corpse. He could only control his protective shield and quickly dodge forward. At the same time, he released his soul power to investigate. As soon as his soul power erupted, Night Sorrow realized that he could still sense the situation outside. In other words, his soul power could penetrate the space barrier and know the situation outside. After moving forward for dozens of miles, Night Sorrow reached his limit. The violent energy here consumed a lot of his true chi and bloodline energy points. Then, Night Sorrow used the space crack again and came out of the space. Exhaling, Night Sorrow flew back to the wooden boat and entered the space-time pagoda. Seeing Night Sorrow come in, Yin Shi, who was meditating, stood up. Night Sorrow glanced at Yin Shi and nodded. Then he took out the spiritual jade stone stool and began to meditate to recover. Entering the space turbulence this time had consumed a lot of his energy. After recovering for an hour, Yishang recovered to his peak state and stood up. What happened? Why did you consume so much energy? Inshi asked, puzzled. Cultivating the space crack. Inshi spoke nicely. Night Sorrow did not refuse to answer. Night Sorrow, I still want to improve my body's strength and vitality. Then I won't have to worry about using the wind elemental escape technique in the future. Inshi said. Whenever a woman talks, I know it's nothing good. Here, take a few more black tortoise spirit crystals. Night Sorrow took out 3 black tortoise spirit crystals and threw them to Inshi. Inshi nodded and took it. In fact, Night Sorrow's Yang Qi was more effective than the black tortoise spirit crystal to her, but she couldn't say, Night Sorrow, come and press me down. Although she was a little unscrupulous, a woman's face was still important. Next, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate the spatial crack. As he traveled through the turbulent space, he also cultivated his spear arts. He fought against the violent energy in the turbulent space to increase his speed. As he cultivated, Night Sorrow was able to travel further and further through the turbulent streams of space. However, as he cultivated, Night Sorrow felt exhausted again and again. Yin Shi, who was cultivating in the space-time pagoda, was convinced when she saw Night Sorrow recover and go out again and again. She had never seen anyone so hard-working during cultivation. Night Sorrow could also recover with the space-time pagoda in his body. However, it wasn't as fast as Night Sorrow's recovery in the space-time pagoda. The difference between recovery and natural cultivation was quite big. After cultivating until evening, Yishang returned to his mansion. Dinner was already prepared in the mansion. Night Sorrow, you have to spend more time with her. Don't just cultivate all day. Papa Gu complained to Night Sorrow. I'll pay attention. Night Sorrow laughed. Then Night Sorrow inquired about the situation of the girls. Now we won't be cultivating in combat anymore. Everyone's combat training is more or less the same. In addition, everyone's cultivation base has stabilized enough. So each of you should cultivate your own foundation. Today we will be cultivating in the mansion, Shinji said. I see. But don't work too hard, Night Sorrow said as he ate. After eating, Papagu returned to his room. He was also working hard on his cultivation. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu smiled at Night Sorrow and Aoi before leaving. Sixth senior sister, do you like the life here? Why don't I take some time to accompany you to the Medicine Valley? Night Sorrow looked at Aoi and asked. That's good. I just feel a little guilty toward my disciples. As a master, I haven't done my duty, Aoi said. How about this? We'll go back with ninth senior sister another day and bring all your disciples here. Fortunately, there aren't many of them. We can still set up a martial arts arena here, Night Sorrow said. 13th junior brother, your intentions are good. But they are disciples of the Medicine Valley. It's normal for them to live in the Medicine Valley. They shouldn't come to the city in the sky, Aoi shook her head and said. She didn't want to cause trouble for Night Sorrow. Then I'll listen to 6th senior sister's decision. However, our Taishan Peak doesn't lack resources. We can go back and take a look when we have time, Night Sorrow said. He knew that Aoi still couldn't bear to part with them. That's true. Our Taishan Peak has a Night Sorrow. Aoi looked at Night Sorrow and said with pride in her eyes. Don't say that, 6th senior sister. I'm just doing what I should do, Night Sorrow said. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow sent Aoi to the attic where she lived. When they arrived at the door of the attic, Night Sorrow didn't know if he should go in or not. After hesitating for a moment, Night Sorrow said, 6th senior sister, can I go in? Yes. If you don't go in, I don't know what your 9th senior sister will say to you tomorrow morning, Aoi said in a low voice. After entering Aoi's room and sitting down, Night Sorrow didn't know what to say. He was a little nervous. 13th junior brother, why are you nervous? You're someone who looks down on everyone, Aoi said with a smile. She could see that Night Sorrow was nervous. I'm just a little nervous, Night Sorrow said embarrassedly. 13 were engaged. I won't beat around the bush. Do you like 6th senior sister or do you only respect her? Aoi pulled a chair and sat beside Night Sorrow. Yishang turned his head to look at Qingji. In my heart, 6th senior sister will always be respected. All this time, even if I liked her, I didn't dare to express it because I was afraid that I would disrespect that respect, Yishang said. So you like 6th senior sister, right? Aoi asked with a red face. Yes, I like her a lot, Night Sorrow nodded. 9 first senior sister, that's great. Shall we decorate the room tonight? Aoi stood up and said. Then, Aoi lit 2 red candles and took out a red ribbon from her storage ring. She pulled it a few times in the room and made a red ribbon flower in the middle. 6th senior sister, it's been hard on you. Seeing that Qingji was done with the red silk, Yishang held her hand and said. Don't worry about it. Actually, 6th senior sister likes 13th junior brother a lot. When 13th junior brother was young, we were siblings. Now that 13th junior brother has grown up, things have changed, Aoi said in a low voice. Her face was blushing under the candlelight. 6th senior sister, you're so beautiful today, Night Sorrow said as he held Aoi's hand. Chapter 746. Genius 1 second remember love go/little? I'll provide you with interesting novels to read. Night Sorrow would be a fool if he didn't understand. He gently embraced Aoi and kissed her. Aoi hugged Night Sorrow's waist and kissed Aoi's red lips. She responded to Night Sorrow. After a while, Night Sorrow let go of Aoi. He was a little absent-minded as he looked at Aoi under the candlelight. He had never looked at her so seriously before. Aoi was very beautiful, gentle and elegant. She was the same type as Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. Stop looking. Let's rest. Aoi was embarrassed by Night Sorrow's gaze. After that, the two of them sat by the bed hand in hand. Qingji looked at Yishang and got up to take off Yishang's outer robe and hang it properly. She took off her own outer skirt and pulled down the curtains by the bed. Night Sorrow bent down and carried Aoi to the inside of the bed. He lay down on the outside and hugged Aoi, who had taken off her skirt and was only wearing her tights. Aoi leaned her head against Night Sorrow's chest. Although she was older than Night Sorrow, she had never experienced something like this before. She was nervous. 6th senior sister, can you do it? Night Sorrow whispered into Aoi's ear. Yes, I have to do it even if I can't. We don't have to be together sooner or later, Aoi said. Night Sorrow sat up and gently took off Aoi's tights. Aoi pulled the blanket and covered herself with it. Night Sorrow then took off his robe and got under the blanket. Night Sorrow felt different when he hugged Aoi again. Feeling Aoi's smooth body, Night Sorrow had a reaction. Night Sorrow flipped over and lay on top of Aoi. Aoi murmured in Night Sorrow's ear, "Take pity on sixth senior sister." Night Sorrow nodded and gently separated from Aoi's beautiful legs. Red candle tears, brocade tent, eroding tenderness. After an hour, Night Sorrow stopped. Although he wasn't done, Aoi couldn't take it. 13th junior brother, I'm sorry. Aoi said softly as she rested her head on Night Sorrow's arm. She had seen the harmony technique and knew what it was like between a man and a woman. Of course, she knew that Night Sorrow was taking pity on her. It's nothing. I'm very happy because I truly have sixth senior sister. Night Sorrow said as he caressed Aoi's hair. Yes, I'm very happy too. Let's rest then. I'm a bit tired. Aoi said. Okay. Night Sorrow hugged Aoi and rested. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow and Aoi woke up early. After taking a shower, the two went to the courtyard. Night Sorrow practiced his spear art while Aoi watched from the side. Sixth senior sister Hihi, are you in pain and happiness? Yang Lei came to Aoi's side. You're not saying anything. Aoi blushed and glared at Yang Lei. Then I won't say anything. I won't say anything. Yang Lei smiled and shook her head. After eating breakfast, the three women cultivated in the mansion. Night Sorrow went to the lakeside and chatted with Chanyu for a while before starting to cultivate the spatial split. To Night Sorrow, cultivating the spatial split was no different from cultivating in the chaotic streams of space in the Realm C. It strengthened him in all aspects. After exhausting himself, Night Sorrow returned to the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda and began to recover. On his third recovery, Night Sorrow nodded to Inshi and said, "Make a pot of hot tea." "Don't you feel tired?" Inshi asked while making tea. "It's very tiring but it's worth it. I want it." Night Sorrow looked at Inshi and said, "Last night, when he was with Aoi, he wanted to take care of her, so he held back his fire." Looking at Inshi's seductive body and wild silver hair, Night Sorrow had a reaction. Inshi looked at Night Sorrow, then turned her head and untied her skirt. Night Sorrow pulled Inshi and began to whip her wildly. This lasted for 2 hours. After finishing, Inshi's body went limp on the praying mat. "You're too cruel. Are you also like this when you're with your woman?" "No." Night Sorrow sat down and began to recover. He didn't want to talk about this topic anymore because he felt it was unfair to Inshi. Inshi didn't say anything. She sat up and began to cultivate. Night Sorrow gave her the essence that she needed the most. After recovering, Night Sorrow came out of the Spacetime Pagoda and continued to cultivate the Spacetime Crack. He wanted to increase the distance he could travel in space. This way, even if there were opponents he couldn't defeat, he would have a way to protect himself. Entering the Spacetime Pagoda again, Night Sorrow looked at Inshi who had finished cultivating and was full of energy again. He said, "Your soul power has condensed into a soul pearl. How far can you detect when you're at your peak?" "If I detect carefully, I can detect the energy fluctuations within a radius of 50 miles. I can't detect any further than that," Inshi said. Night Sorrow nodded. He could only travel within a radius of 50 miles. This meant that if the opponent wasn't a high-level saint, it would be difficult for the opponent to catch him when he used the Spacetime Crack. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that he had to continue to improve in this aspect. When it was evening, Night Sorrow realized that his cultivation of the Myriad Tao Tome had reached a bottleneck. This meant that if he didn't level up and advance to the God Refinement realm, he wouldn't be able to level it up anymore. Night Sorrow planned to make a stable breakthrough. During this period of time, he didn't use any resources to cultivate the Myriad Tao Tome. He cultivated it naturally so there wouldn't be any drawbacks of an unstable foundation. Looking at the sky, Night Sorrow returned to the mansion. When Night Sorrow returned to the mansion, the servants had already prepared dinner. Night Sorrow pondered as he ate. When he advanced to the Honorable Realm last time, there were 3 lightning tribulations. He didn't know if there would be lightning tribulations when he advanced to the Myriad Tao Tome. However, Night Sorrow felt that his genuine chi cultivation was much stronger than before. He also had a high-grade spiritual weapon. Even if there were lightning tribulations, he wouldn't be as miserable as before. "What are you thinking about? Why are you spacing out when you're eating?" Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said, "My physique cultivation is about to advance. I don't know if there will be lightning tribulations." Night Sorrow said with a smile, "Advance in physique cultivation? What level is it?" Sikong Chiu looked at Night Sorrow and asked, "Spirit Refinement Realm. It's equivalent to the Honorable Realm of genuine chi cultivation." Night Sorrow said. You can cultivate your body to the 6th level. You're ruthless. Last time you didn't expect lightning tribulations. This time you have to be more prepared. Yang Lei said. I understand. I'll be careful. Night Sorrow nodded. He had been thinking about this. He had to be prepared. Last time, because he wasn't prepared, something big had almost happened. Equals latest plus backslash fastest. After cultivating for another night, Night Sorrow decided to advance. Because the myriad Tao Tome's cultivation was already very smooth, there was no point in settling down. In addition, he was looking forward to what kind of increase in combat power would be after he entered the spirit refinement realm. This time, Night Sorrow didn't enter the secret cultivation room. Instead, he went directly to the lake. The other women also came along. They were all worried. Chapter 747. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by Shao? We will provide you with interesting novels to read. The girls nodded. They understood that if there was a lightning tribulation they wouldn't be able to help. The lightning tribulation was a trial and test from the heavens. It was targeted at the tribulation taker. If others dared to intervene, they would be attacked by the lightning tribulation and wouldn't be able to help the tribulation taker. They followed him to guard Night Sorrow so that he wouldn't be disturbed by Night Sorrow. Yishang took out the spirit jade stool, sat on it and began to cultivate. Night Sorrow first stabilized his emotions. Then he used all his strength to circulate the myriad Tao Tome's energy. Night Sorrow wanted to gather all the energy of the myriad Tao Tome together. There wouldn't be any gaps or barriers. In other words, there wouldn't be any gaps between the energy of the flesh and the energy of the bones. This meant that the blood vessels and fascia in the body would be turned into energy. This way the energy of the myriad Tao Tome would explode faster and faster. Love Gong Little Say W. Chu Night Sorrow didn't need to force himself to break through to the Tao querying realm with the myriad Tao Tome. He just needed to cultivate diligently. The cultivation of the myriad Tao Tome would naturally strengthen his body and level up. As the energy of Night Sorrow's myriad Tao Tome circulated quickly, Night Sorrow's body slowly changed. The essence chi above his head also slowly rose. When his body reaches the supremacy realm, 13 can fight against supremacies without using his true chi, Yang Lei said. He put in a lot more effort than others to cultivate his body. Sikong Chuyu exhaled and said. As time passed, Night Sorrow's aura became stronger and stronger. The process of leveling up was slowly advancing. Tianyu stopped cultivating and came to the girl's side. The only one who is correct, M version K. The others are all deep-pirated versions. Yang Lei then explained the situation to Tianyu. She was worried that Tianyu didn't understand the situation and would cause trouble. Time slipped away bit by bit. Night Sorrow was like an old monk in meditation. Baidu search AI go female sign Shao say www.ichuxs. Coma day passed and Night Sorrow's myriad Tao Tome was still in the state of strengthening his body. Will it be okay to break through at night? Yang Lei was a little worried. No problem. I wonder if I can complete the breakthrough tonight. Sikong Chiyu said. Sikong Chiyu was right. After one night, Night Sorrow still did not complete his breakthrough. Now he was cultivating naturally, allowing the cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome to strengthen his body and naturally break through. On the afternoon of the second day, the energy of the myriad Tao tome in Night Sorrow's body had completely merged into one. It was no longer separated by the energy in his flesh, bones, and organs. It was as if Night Sorrow's body was a single vessel that contained the energy of the myriad Tao Tome. Baidu search AI go female sign Shao say www.ichuxs. Essence chi smoke signal soared into the sky. The moment Night Sorrow completed his breakthrough, the essence chi smoke signal above Night Sorrow's head soared into the sky and reached a height of more than 10 zhang. At this moment rolling dark clouds appeared in the sky. Lightning tribulation. Everyone knew that the lightning tribulation was coming. Night Sorrow, who was meditating, also knew. He was now trying his best to stabilize his cultivation. Next, he was going to receive the baptism of the lightning tribulation. When the lightning tribulation clouds rolled to the extreme, Night Sorrow stood up and put away the spiritual jade block. He held the reincarnation spear in his hand and looked at the rolling lightning tribulation clouds in the sky. At this moment, the members of the god-slaying team arrived. They were all attracted by the lightning tribulation clouds. Captain, what's going on? Ling Long asked, puzzled. The lightning tribulation of advancement. Yang Lei said. Captain is a second-level martial saint. Why is there a lightning tribulation? Yun Huang couldn't understand. They hadn't encountered a lightning tribulation when they entered the Martial Saint realm. However, Night Sorrow had encountered 3 lightning tribulations when he entered the Martial Saint realm. Now the lightning tribulation had appeared again. Night Sorrow doesn't just cultivate his vital energy. He also cultivates his body. Now that his body cultivation is successful, the Heavenly Tao's test is coming again. This time, with the high-grade spirit artifact reincarnation spear in his hand, Night Sorrow was full of confidence. He wasn't afraid of fighting. Following an explosion, the lightning tribulation clouds parted. A black-purple thunderbolt struck down at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow stomped his feet and soared into the sky. At the same time, he executed the 7-star brilliant moon spear and attacked the lightning tribulation. After the attack, Night Sorrow's body retreated with an afterimage. At the same time, the reincarnation spear continued to attack. After cultivating in the realm C spatial turbulence and tearing space, Night Sorrow's movement technique was extremely fast. Of course, no matter how fast Night Sorrow was, he couldn't be faster than the thunderbolt. However, Night Sorrow had the energy from the reincarnation spear to stop the thunderbolt from advancing. Thus, he was able to keep up with the thunderbolt's speed. Night Sorrow attacked while retreating. When the 11th attack was launched, the thunderbolt was dispersed by Night Sorrow. His body flashed and returned to his original position. Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and looked up at the sky again. The lightning tribulation cloud still hadn't dispersed, but he wasn't afraid at all. This spirit, this boldness. Apart from our captain, no one else is like this. Nan Liue looked at Night Sorrow's figure with shock in her eyes. When she first heard of Night Sorrow's name, Nan Liue didn't pay much attention to it. At that time, Night Sorrow's cultivation level wasn't enough to attract her attention. But now, Night Sorrow had already faced 2 lightning tribulations. His combat strength and cultivation level were far from what she could compare to. Then, the second lightning tribulation came. Night Sorrow executed 2 spatial splits to block the thunderbolt's attack. At this time, Night Sorrow's spatial splits were real spatial splits. The 2 black spatial splits consumed half of the thunderbolt's energy. Then Night Sorrow used a few more spear moves to consume the thunderbolt's energy. The lightning tribulation might be a disaster for others, but it's nothing for the captain. Yun Huang sighed with emotion. When the 3rd lightning tribulation came, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear focused on the myriad Tao treasured tome's energy and started to clash with the lightning tribulation. Night Sorrow didn't know how many lightning tribulations there would be. Thus he was very cautious. He didn't use any energy to resist. Because the myriad Tao treasured tome's cultivation level wasn't as high as his quintessential energy cultivation level, Night Sorrow executed 13 spear moves and blocked the 3rd lightning tribulation. At this time, the thunderclouds rolled and dispersed. The sky became cloudless once again. The thunderclouds disappeared, leaving behind a multicolored glow. Night Sorrow roared towards the sky. He sat down and cultivated. His cultivation level of the myriad Tao treasured tome was much more stable than his. The lightning tribulation is very fierce, but our 13th prince is even more ferocious. Seeing that Night Sorrow was fine and had started to stabilize his cultivation, Yang Lei waved her arm. The multicolored glow in the sky enveloped Night Sorrow's body. Following the circulation of energy in Night Sorrow's body, the multicolored glow entered Night Sorrow's body. While meditating, Night Sorrow started to cultivate according to the myriad Tao treasured tome's spirit refinement realm cultivation technique. The cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome also underwent a huge change. Naturally, after absorbing the energy, a portion of it was converted into a special energy that entered the spirit sea. Then, the soul energy in the spirit sea entered the body. This was the realm of using one's body to refine one's spirit and using one's spirit to nourish one's body. This realm mainly cultivated one's soul and at the same time, strengthened one's cultivation. While Night Sorrow was stabilizing his cultivation, he also used his quintessential energy and the energy of the myriad Tao treasured tome to envelop the multicolored glow. He knew that this was a good thing and he definitely couldn't waste it. Chapter 748. Genius Remembers Love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. As Yi Shang cultivated, the soul power he left in the silver dusk spirit sea naturally changed. The most obvious change was that it had a 5-colored glow. She didn't quite understand, but she knew that Yi Shang must have encountered some special opportunity. She had never heard of such a situation before, for his soul power to carry the five-colored glow. While Night Sorrow was cultivating, the others left. Night Sorrow's strength had greatly increased, which gave them the motivation to move forward. Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi were very happy to see Night Sorrow successfully passing the lightning tribulation. They went to the wooden boat to make tea. In the evening, Night Sorrow stopped cultivating. The cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome had also been completely stabilized. After tidying up his robe, Night Sorrow went to the wooden boat. 13. Congratulations. Aoi poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow and said, "Yes, thank you, 6th senior sister. My cultivation level is not a problem, so it is not difficult for me to break through. I have a high-grade spiritual weapon, so I am not afraid," Night Sorrow said with a smile. Night Sorrow, when you encountered the lightning tribulation last time, you broke a pair of claws. Think of a way to get another pair in the future. Sikong Chiyu said, "I might have needed it in the past, but not now. After I infuse energy into my hands, they are not inferior to a low-grade spiritual weapon." Night Sorrow looked at his hands and said, "You've cultivated your body to the point where your spiritual essence fumes soar into the clouds. Currently there is no one like that. Even the elemental body cannot be compared to yours," said Yang Lei, looking at Yishang's head. "I still have a lot of desolate stones. I didn't refine them earlier because my body is on the verge of leveling up. If I want stability, I won't be able to level up quickly, so I didn't refine them." "I can do it later," said Night Sorrow. "The last time you refined the desolate stone, you went into seclusion for more than a month. Are you going to do it again?" Yang Lei said gloomily. "I won't. This time I'll refine a little less each time. I'll come out more often to accompany you guys," Night Sorrow said with a smile. "I know you're here to improve your cultivation. It's business, but I'm a little reluctant to part with you. I'm not used to not seeing you for so long," Yang Lei said in a low voice. "I understand. What's more, last time I brought back some elixirs from Medicine Valley, but I don't know how Master arranged them. Here are some more. You can take them back and give them to your disciples. Take it as a gift from me as your martial uncle." Night Sorrow took out some more elixirs. "Is that okay? You have so many senior brothers. You can give them to our disciples." Aoi was a little hesitant. "Sai, it's a burden for 13. But I think it's for his fiancée. If we give it to our disciples, no one will say anything. Besides, 13 didn't shortchange any one of your senior brothers and junior brothers' cultivation resources, right?" Yang Lei said. "There shouldn't be a problem," Sikong Chuyu said. "As a disciple of Medicine Valley, I have the obligation to make Medicine Valley rise. But from a personal standpoint, I also have my own feelings. Although that's what I said, I can't hurt the relationship between our senior brothers. So I won't keep them. You can give the rest to your senior brother," Night Sorrow said with some emotion. Aoi and Yang Lei nodded. They knew that Night Sorrow was tired, but they couldn't say it. They didn't want to hurt the relationship between their senior and junior brothers. "Chiyu, don't just focus on your cultivation. Follow the two senior sisters and get some fresh air. After we're done with Medicine Valley, we can go home and visit," Night Sorrow said to Sikong Chuyu. He felt guilty towards Sikong Chuyu. Back then, when he was still a small fry, Sikong Chuyu was willing to be with him. But now he already had 3 fiancés. The 4 of them didn't return to the mansion. Instead, they chatted on the wooden boat. At night, they made a bonfire, roasted fish, and drank some wine. After dawn, Night Sorrow sent the 3 girls away. Then he returned to the mansion's secret cultivation room and entered the space-time pagoda in a flash. The blood in your body is rolling like a tide, and smoke is rising into the sky. Your body's cultivation has improved again? Seeing Night Sorrow enter, Yin Shi, who was meditating, stood up. Successfully leveled up. Make a pot of hot tea. How have you been recently? Night Sorrow pointed at the teapot and asked. I lost a lot of my cultivation. Now that I've recovered to the peak of the Venerable Realm, it will take some time to enter the Saint Realm, Yin Shi said. Didn't I give you the Dragon Spirit pills? How many have you used? Night Sorrow asked. I use 7 pills, but I can't use resources to level up at the moment. That will make my foundation unstable. Before entering the Saint Realm, I have to be steady, Yin Shi said. You have experience in this area. You can decide for yourself. You don't need the Dragon Spirit pills anymore. Give them back to me. You use 7 pills. You're really something, Night Sorrow said. Can't you give them to me? I still need them when I enter the Saint Realm. Although they can't increase my cultivation by 1 level, they're still a great help. Yin Shi took out the pill bottle, but she was reluctant to part with it. Well, you can keep them. But I don't understand. The energy of the dragon spirit pills can increase the cultivation of a venerable by 1 level. You were a level 7 venerable at that time, and now you're a level 9 venerable. You took 7 of them? How did you manage to take them? Night Sorrow asked. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation what? I'm different from other cultivators. I have the realm, the foundation, and the strength of my soul. What I lack is energy. So after taking them, I compressed them with all my strength. 2 dragon spirit pills were enough to replenish my cultivation by 1 level, Inshi said. I see. Then I understand. You can use them as you see fit, Night Sorrow said. Then I'll keep them. My cultivation speed is fast. It's only good for you, Inshi said. Also, how's the cultivation of your chi and blood force? Night Sorrow asked. Then I'll be direct. There's a special situation. The resources you gave me can increase my chi and blood force, but they can't be stabilized. In other words, after I use my ultimate skill, it will be consumed. However, the essence you left in my body is different. It's equivalent to merging with my body. If I cultivate diligently, my chi and blood force will be fundamentally improved. Then, when I use my ultimate skill, Wind Escape, I won't suffer from a loss of chi and blood force. Inshi said, but her voice wasn't loud. What she meant was that she still wanted more. But she couldn't say, Night Sorrow, come and take me. I'm also confused. Actually, it was my intention to subdue you and make you my fighter. I didn't want to take advantage of you, Night Sorrow sighed. In fact, Night Sorrow felt that it was normal to subdue Inshi. After all, Inshi was the one who dealt with him first. However, now that he had a relationship with Inshi, Night Sorrow felt that he was lacking and was somewhat disgraceful. I've been cultivating longer than you, so I can understand your mentality. Some things are my own fault. You didn't do anything wrong. I've accepted my fate since I was captured by you. If you want to fight, I can fight. If you want something, I can give it to you. My only hope is that you can retain some dignity, Inshi said. Chapter 749. Geniuses remember love in 1 second? I will provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and nodded. Okay, if you need me to do anything, just tell me. As long as I recover my cultivation to the saint realm, I won't be afraid of ordinary beginner saints. Inshi said. Sometimes I really don't understand how things ended up like this. Night Sorrow sighed with emotion. Maybe this is fate. I've been cultivating for a long time, but I didn't expect to fall into the hands of a venerable and even lose my virginity. Inshi sighed and said, Virginity? Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment and looked at Inshi. Are you playing dumb? You didn't see the blood at that time. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Inshi's eyes were burning with anger. I thought you were hurt, so I didn't think in that direction. You've been cultivating for a long time, but you haven't married? Night Sorrow was surprised. No. In the past years, I've been obsessed with cultivation and always wanted to suppress Xiaolanjun, so I didn't think about the relationship between a man and a woman. Now that I'm with you, I don't need to maintain my dignity. I want to cultivate and improve the fundamental strength of my body and the strength of my chi and blood. Inshi nodded and looked at Night Sorrow. I didn't think about it, but with you like this, how can I bear it? Night Sorrow smiled bitterly. In fact, he had been avoiding having sex with Inshi, but the reality was different from what he expected. Then Inshi went behind Night Sorrow and undressed. She still had to maintain a little dignity, so she didn't want to change clothes in front of Night Sorrow. Yishang took off his robe, turned around, and carried Inshi to the spiritual jade stone block he was cultivating on. Then he lifted Inshi's 2 jade-like legs with both hands and began to break through. D had XK hair. Night Sorrow, who had cultivated the outer section of the myriad Tao Tome, had a strong body which was not something Inshi could withstand. Her cries reverberated in the space of the space-time treasure pagoda. However, not long after, her cries turned into sounds of pleasure. The battle between the two lasted for a very long time, and only ended after 2 hours. You don't know how to take care of people at all. You and your woman would never be like this. Inshi wiped the sweat from her forehead and said, Like you said, she's my woman. You're not, Night Sorrow said as he put on his robe. That's why you do as you please. Inshi felt a little wrong because Night Sorrow didn't pity her at all. Night Sorrow put on his robe and sat down on the spirit jade block. At the same time he took out the desolate stone and began to cultivate. Inshi also began to cultivate. She wanted to refine the essence energy that Night Sorrow left in her body. Night Sorrow cultivated for 8 days. Because of the increase in his cultivation, Night Sorrow's speed of refining the desolate stone had also increased. The refining time had also shortened. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow took out another desolate stone and continued to refine it. After entering the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda for a little more than half a month, Night Sorrow had refined 2 desolate stones. After sensing his body, Night Sorrow discovered that while increasing the energy attribute of the myriad Tao Tome, his cultivation had also increased by a lot. After all, the desolate stone didn't only contain the power of desolates, it also contained pure energy. After glancing at Yin Shi, Night Sorrow didn't care about that thirsty gaze and directly left the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Half a month had passed. Aoi and the other 2 must have returned. He wanted to go out and take a look. Otherwise, the 3 of them would be anxious again. After exiting the secret cultivation room, Night Sorrow saw the 3 women and old man Gu drinking tea in the courtyard in front of the mansion. "You're very obedient this time." Seeing Night Sorrow come out, Yang Lei smiled and nodded. "Isn't it because I was afraid that Ninth Senior Sister would be angry?" Night Sorrow sat down and said with a smile. "Okay, if you're obedient, I won't be angry," Yang Lei said as she hooked her arm around Night Sorrow's neck. "How's the Medicine Valley?" Night Sorrow asked. "Of course it's good. Excluding you, the Medicine Valley still has the 3 sovereigns and a lot of stage 5 cultivators. It has the strength to become the #1 sect in the Eastern Profound Domain. In addition, the Medicine Valley has done a good job in expanding its medicinal pill resources. It has now reached the unbounded Desolation realm. Of course, this was arranged by Aunt Fei." Yang Lei said. "It's fine as long as the sect is doing well. How's your business?" Night Sorrow asked again. "It's all done. We even went to Chuyu's place to eat and drink a few times," Aoi said with a smile. "Then I'm relieved." Night Sorrow nodded. Then Night Sorrow went to see Tianyu. Afterward, the few of them drank tea, chatted, and had dinner together. Yang Lei smiled at Night Sorrow and Aoi, then went to cultivate with Sikong Chuyu. 13th junior brother, how did the 2 of them become partners? Aoi's face was flushed. "It's nothing. They just want to give us more time alone." Night Sorrow held Aoi's hand and led her to the pavilion where Aoi lived. Night Sorrow was especially gentle when he was with Aoi. Among the 3 women, Aoi was the weakest, and Night Sorrow cared about her the most. 13th junior brother, 6th senior sister will try her best to adapt, but she can't do it now. Why don't you go and find them? Aoi said with an apologetic look. 6th senior sister, don't be like this. 9th senior sister and Chuyu can't do it either. They bully me together, Night Sorrow said with a smile. The 2 of them are so embarrassing. Aoi buried her head in Night Sorrow's chest. Night Sorrow also smiled. They were a family, so there was nothing to hide. Aoi might have felt it too, but she wasn't sure. "It's nothing. We are a family." Night Sorrow patted Aoi's back. "So they are like this. No wonder I can't do it. But there are some things that 6th senior sister needs to think about. Although junior brother is the one benefiting, we can't be too embarrassed," Aoi said after thinking for a while. 6th senior sister, I am actually very happy with this kind of life. I don't always think about this when I am with you," Night Sorrow said. 6th senior sister understands, but we can't always let you be like this. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's rest and lie in 13th junior brother's arms. Aoi moved her body to make herself more comfortable. After resting for a night, while Night Sorrow was practicing his spear art, Yang Lei teased Aoi for a while. "You 2 are not embarrassed. You 2 are together and I am alone." Aoi looked at Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu and said unhappily, "Then we will be together in the future. I am just worried that 6th senior sister can't accept it," Yang Lei said. Night Sorrow couldn't stay any longer because it was all about women. He went to the lake and started practicing his spear art. It was a chaotic world now. Yishang was anxious to increase his strength. Strength was the foundation of everything. He had absorbed 2 desolation stones. Whether it was the Desolation's Hand or the myriad Tao Tome's spear technique, their power had increased greatly. It was not just a little but a great improvement. Firstly, the myriad Tao Tome had leveled up. The energy in Night Sorrow's body had become much stronger. Secondly, the quality had increased. The 2 desolate stones made Night Sorrow's myriad Tao Tome's energy attack stronger. Chapter 750. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Shao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Haotian City had not appeared for 10,000 years. No one knew what the situation was like. If there was an opportunity, then the first person to enter would definitely benefit. Baidu search love go female sign xiao shuat www.atux.com. After cultivating for a while, Night Sorrow entered the spacetime pagoda to recover. However, he did not talk to Yinshi. When facing her, Night Sorrow felt a little awkward. After cultivating for a day, Night Sorrow returned to his residence. After eating dinner, he greeted the three girls. He had to continue refining the desolate stone. Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei and Aoi nodded. They knew that Night Sorrow's accompanying them had already delayed his cultivation. In addition, improving his cultivation was also a big matter. It was hard to say what kind of opponents he would face in the future. If he lost because the gap was not large, then it might be because of his slacking today. Seeing Night Sorrow come in, Yinshi was stunned. Didn't you cultivate during the day? You still want to cultivate at night? Night Sorrow took out a desolate stone and nodded. I want to strengthen my attribute. What about you? When can you return to the Saint Realm? If you can return to the Saint Realm, then I will bring you out to explore. It will be more confident. Where do you plan to go? Yinshi asked curiously. For example, if there is a chance to enter Haoyin City, or we can enter the Supreme River space. The last time I entered, I couldn't fight because my strength was too low. I didn't dare to explore carefully. That was an ancient battlefield from 10,000 years ago. It's not right that there are no remnants. Night Sorrow thought for a while and said, Didn't you say that we can't enter the Supreme River space? Yinshi frowned and asked. Others can't enter but I can. My Nihility Protective Chi cover can suppress any attribute below the Supreme Attribute. Night Sorrow said. That's too abnormal. No wonder. In the history of cultivators, there has never been a Supreme Attribute. Even high-level attributes are extremely rare. Excluding the high-level attributes brought by innate talents, those who have high-level attributes themselves are very rare. Baidu search love gong xiao shua www.atux.com, Yinshi said. How many saints are there with high-level attributes? Night Sorrow asked. How many? I don't know about Long Xianxing, but the Golden Phoenix is a high-level attribute. As for the others, including the arrogant Xiaolanjun, they are only at the peak of ordinary attributes. Yinshi said. She had a deep grudge against Xiaolanjun and scolded her the moment she mentioned Xiaolanjun. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, But there are some cultivators with advanced attributes. There are also some supremacies with advanced attributes. It's very difficult to have a high-grade attribute, and it's even more difficult to upgrade a normal attribute to a high-grade one. Not to mention entering the Saint Realm with a high-grade attribute. That's as difficult as ascending to the heavens. How can one master a high-grade attribute's rule power? Since he couldn't find any source stones, what about Saint Crystals? How could a cultivator without a high-grade attribute cultivate to the Sage Realm obtain a high-grade attribute Saint Crystal? As for the special places where the rule power can be displayed, it's very rare, not to mention the places where the high-grade rule power can be displayed. It's going to be very difficult for you in the future. Yinshi looked at Night Sorrow and said, I already said that I have the Nihility Fate Pearl. Why are you worrying about me? I'm the one asking you now. Night Sorrow glared at Yinshi and said, I still need to refine it. I still need some time. It's hard to say how much time I'll need. Yinshi muttered. Don't meddle in my business. Work hard on your cultivation. Don't drag me out and get destroyed by others. Night Sorrow said snappily. Seeing that Night Sorrow's tone wasn't good, Yinshi didn't say anything. She was a little afraid of Night Sorrow in her heart because she couldn't bear the torture from her soul. Work hard on your cultivation. If you need any resources, just tell me. Seeing that Yinshi was obedient, Night Sorrow said and began to meditate to refine the desolate stone. SX Genuine Edition W/9X. Seeing that Night Sorrow had begun to cultivate, Yinshi didn't say anything. In fact, she still wanted Night Sorrow's essence blood. However, Night Sorrow didn't want it. After refining another desolate stone, Night Sorrow stopped cultivating. He couldn't absorb the energy from the desolate stone to cultivate anymore. His myriad Tao treasured tome was strengthened by his elemental power. The number of books had also increased to the peak of level 1 spirit refinement realm. Make a pot of tea. Night Sorrow said to Yinshi. Yinshi got up from the futon and went to make tea. Okay, I'll go to a small town later. You go and buy what you need. Night Sorrow said to Yinshi, who was making tea. Yinshi nodded. She had always had high standards for her life. The tea she was drinking now was of the highest quality. After drinking the tea, Night Sorrow left the spacetime pagoda. He knew that Yinshi needed his essence blood. It wasn't that he didn't want it, but he felt that it wasn't suitable. Within the space-time pagoda, Inshi's eyes were filled with disappointment. She knew very well what was going on. Night Sorrow wouldn't want to have anything to do with her if he could control himself. After leaving the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow ate breakfast with the girls. Then he went to the lakeside to cultivate. The girls also followed Night Sorrow. They had been cultivating hard for a while. Now they also wanted to relax. Seeing Night Sorrow cultivate the spatial split, the girls were shocked. They had seen this before. After cultivating for a while, he returned to the wooden boat. After greeting the girls, Night Sorrow entered the space-time pagoda to recover. Seeing Night Sorrow meditating, Inshi's face was filled with admiration. Night Sorrow was too persistent and hardworking. After recovering, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate the spatial split. The girls also began to cultivate their sword techniques. They all wanted to cultivate their intent realm. In the evening, after eating dinner, Night Sorrow looked at the three girls. Cultivate well. I plan to go to the Night Moon City for a walk. You don't need us to accompany you? Yang Lei asked. No need. I'm just going out for a breath of fresh air. I'll come back later to rest. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then Night Sorrow took the teleportation array and left. He wanted to go to the Night Moon Dynasty City to take a look. He also wanted to buy some things for Inshi. Night Sorrow looked around the Night Moon City. Then he went to Wuyo City and Wuamo City. Then he teleported to a city that the Night Moon had just taken back. Put on a veil and disguise yourself. I'll let you out later. Night Sorrow communicated with Inshi. Then Night Sorrow went to a secluded corner and Night Sorrow let Inshi out. Go buy the things you need. Remember, don't go too far from me. Otherwise, I'll treat it as you running away. You'll be embarrassed. Night Sorrow said to Inshi, whose hair was wrapped in a veil and her face was still covered. Can't you just walk a few steps behind me? How do I know how far you can sense me? Inshi was a little depressed. If Night Sorrow didn't follow her, she didn't dare to walk around. She didn't know how far Night Sorrow's sensing range was. Okay, go. Night Sorrow waved his hand at Inshi. Yishang was speechless as he watched Inshi buy things. It was as if she was moving things. Silks, brocade quilts, ancient wooden tea tables. Inshi moved them all into her storage ring. Chapter 751. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Xiao? We provide you with interesting novels to read. When there was no one around, Night Sorrow kept Inshi, who did not resist, into the time and space pagoda. Then he returned to his residence in the city in the sky. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao say www.ichuxs. When Night Sorrow returned, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei and Aoi were sipping tea while looking at the night sky on the observation deck of the residence. You women really have good taste in life. After sitting down, Night Sorrow poured himself a cup of tea and said, don't you want your women to have good taste? Could it be that you will be satisfied if we become haggard women? Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said, No, that's not what I meant. However, even if you are haggard women, you are still the women in my heart. Isn't that so? Night Sorrow said with a smile. You sound happy to hear that. Ninth senior sister is just joking. We know what kind of person you are. Sikong Chuyu said after pouring water into Night Sorrow's empty teacup. After chatting for a while, everyone went to cultivate. As for the matters between men and women, everyone was a cultivator and they could restrain themselves. The matters between men and women were also for the sake of emotional exchanges. Night Sorrow also entered the secret cultivation room and began his cultivation. In his current state of cultivation, Night Sorrow was fully focused on cultivating his innate bloodline power and soul power. Because Night Sorrow had been cultivating these two types of power very well, his foundation was not unstable at all. As for his true Qi in the myriad Tao text, one was at the peak of the second level of the Venerable Realm while the other was at the peak of the first level of the Spirit Refinement Realm. Both of them were obtained quickly and required time to stabilize. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow went to the courtyard to cultivate his Spear Intent Realm early in the morning. After eating breakfast, Aoi said, I won't be watching you cultivate. I'm going to break through to the fourth level of the Void Inquiry stage. At the same time, Kong Chuyu and Yang Lei also had the same intention. Night Sorrow nodded and went to the lakeside to cultivate. Every day Tianyu would crawl by the side of the lake and sleep. When he slept, he would cultivate. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao say www.ichuxs. Night Sorrow held the reincarnation spear and began to cultivate the spatial split. At the same time, he used the violent energy within the spatial turbulence to stabilize his cultivation. When he entered the space-time pagoda to recover, Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment. This was because the space on the 60th floor had been decorated like a boudoir by Yinshi. There was a large pink bed, a purple curtain, and a set of antique furniture. There was also a tea table and a hollow wooden stool. Your quality of life has improved exponentially, Night Sorrow said as he pulled over a wooden stool and sat down. It's not easy to live. Why don't you treat yourself better? Yinshi said. You're right. When I cultivate in the future, I'll feel more comfortable when I recover, Night Sorrow said with a nod. Yinshi was very understanding and poured some tea for Night Sorrow. Quickly recover to the Saint Realm. Otherwise, you won't be one of the top cultivators, Night Sorrow said as he took a sip of tea. I'm really not in a hurry. If I improve my physical fitness and chi and blood energy, then speed will be my strength. I'll have a great advantage in battle, Yinshi said. Every time we talk, this problem is always involved. Don't you have any other way? To be honest, I don't want to do that. I have 3 fiancés. I don't want to let them down, Night Sorrow said with a sigh. If you don't say it and I don't say it, who will know? Yinshi said. There are some things that others don't know. It's enough for me to know. I can't get past myself, Night Sorrow said. It's not the first time. What's the point of avoiding this now? I won't use this as a bargaining chip to negotiate with you. Since I've been subdued by you, I'll use my own ability to make my life better. It's enough for you to treat them better in the future, Yinshi said. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and nodded. There was indeed no point in avoiding it now. Yinshi was right. He should treat them better in the future. Night Sorrow could really let go of himself when he was with Yinshi. No matter what, Yinshi would cooperate. She was very cooperative, not accompanied by choking sounds. Night Sorrow wanted to stop, but she wouldn't let him. Night Sorrow could only continue fighting. After 2 hours, Yinshi got what she wanted. Why did you do that? Night Sorrow said with a sigh after tidying himself up. What's wrong? That's normal. Otherwise, as a former 7-star saint, why would I do that? Yinshi shook her head. She understood that Night Sorrow had no experience in this area. All right. I don't understand. I won't care if you cry or not in the future. Night Sorrow said and went to meditate. Yinshi glanced at Night Sorrow and went to meditate. She wanted to refine the resources she had just obtained to strengthen herself. Night Sorrow tore the space again and again. He used and tempered his true chi and energy in the turbulent space and returned to the spacetime pagoda to recover. After half a month, Night Sorrow decided to break through. His true chi cultivation was already very solid. He didn't want to suppress the myriad Tao treasured tome anymore. He would break through when it was time. During this period of time, Yinshi's progress was also quite big. Night Sorrow could feel that Yinshi's body had become stronger. Her chi and blood were also different from before. Night Sorrow's cultivation advanced to level 3 honor realm on the wooden boat. Then he directly broke through the myriad Tao treasured tomes cultivation to level 2 spirit refinement realm. After Night Sorrow had dinner with the girls, he entered the secret cultivation room again and entered the spacetime pagoda in a flash. Genuine first appearance, your cultivation has improved again. Yinshi was surprised to see Night Sorrow. If you can improve, why can't I? What's your cultivation level now? Night Sorrow took the tea from Yinshi and asked. My cultivation is still stabilizing, but I'm not far from entering the sage realm. Yinshi said. What about the cultivation of your body? What exactly are you cultivating? Night Sorrow looked at Yinshi and asked. I have 2 ultimate attributes and I've cultivated the ultimate body. However, this still can't support me to use the wind elemental escape. Only the fusion of the 2 ultimate bodies, which is the feng shui body, can do that. I'm now cultivating to prepare for the fusion of the 2 ultimate bodies. Yinshi explained to Night Sorrow. So that's the situation. I understand. Night Sorrow nodded. But you still have to help me. There's still a long way to go. Yinshi said. I don't understand. I'm the one who subdued you. But now, am I the one who's exploiting you? Or are you the one who's exploiting me? Night Sorrow said speechlessly. What are you talking about? Even if you've subdued me, you can't pretend to be obedient after taking advantage of me. Don't you feel good? What position do you want? What request did I not satisfy? Yinshi looked at Night Sorrow and said. I admit that, but it's all to help you cultivate. Night Sorrow looked at Yinshi and said. Chapter 752. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. When you haven't lost something, you don't know how precious it is to have it. Baidu search AI go female sign xiao say www.ichuxs. She used to be a 7-star saint and stood at the top of the cultivators. After her cultivation was greatly damaged, she lost all hope. After being subdued by night sorrow, she didn't even want to live anymore. But then she saw hope for the next step, so she let go of everything. Besides, after being subdued, she had already lost everything in front of night sorrow. She did not mind losing anything in front of night sorrow. Alright. As I said before, as long as you are well and obedient, I will let you live a better life. Night sorrow looked at Shi and said. After night sorrow finished speaking, he continued to meditate and stabilize his cultivation. In his current state of cultivation, night sorrow did not have to worry about increasing his cultivation. The difficulty was that he needed to spend a long time to stabilize his cultivation. After stabilizing his cultivation base for 2 days, Night Sorrow left the secret cultivation room and returned to his mansion. In the manor, Sikong Chuyu and the other two were practicing their sword techniques. They had all advanced in their cultivation and were focusing on stabilizing their cultivation. Seeing Night Sorrow come out, the 3 women stopped their cultivation. They brewed tea and chatted with Night Sorrow. Not bad. However, we can't rush the step of stabilizing our cultivation. We don't lack resources. Increasing our cultivation isn't difficult. The difficult part is stabilizing, Night Sorrow said. After staying with the girls for a while, Night Sorrow went to see Papa Gu, who was cultivating. After that, he went to the lakeside and started cultivating the spatial crack. After advancing, Night Sorrow still needed to stabilize his cultivation. Once his cultivation stabilized, he could continue to use the dragon spirit pills and desolate stones to increase his cultivation. When Night Sorrow came back at night, he saw Lin Yuandao. Master K, what's the situation in Clear Sky City? Night Sorrow asked. There's no way to get close. There are more and more spatial soul-devouring beasts, and the spatial turbulence is filled with those things. Lin Yuandao sighed and shook his head. Then let's continue cultivating, Yishang said. Night Sorrow's plan was to wait until his cultivation reached the middle stage of the Venerable Realm. Then he would go to the spatial turbulence and see if the Void Protective Air Shield could stop the spatial Soul Eater beast. In addition, she disappeared without a trace, as if she had disappeared, Lin Yuandao said. Maybe she went to find a place to cultivate. She shouldn't be a threat to anyone anymore, Night Sorrow said. Let's hope so. I'm just here to have a look. Your cultivation base is rising too quickly. Let me give you a word of advice. Haste makes waste. A solid foundation is important. However, there is no problem with the solidity of your true energy. After talking about Night Sorrow, Lin Yuandao smiled again. The main thing was that Night Sorrow showed no signs of having a shaky foundation. Then, after drinking a pot of tea, Lin Yuandao left. He had come to see how the young master of Qinji Tower was cultivating. Normally, Night Sorrow's cultivation should be guided by Lin Yuandao. However, Night Sorrow didn't need any guidance from him. Then Night Sorrow asked the girls about Wu Ling concubine's situation. Aunt Fei occasionally comes out for a cup of tea. The rest of the time she is cultivating in the attic, Yang Lei said. Well, I don't know how the clansmen are doing in the Sea of Night Moon. When I have time, I will go to the island and ask Sixth Uncle. Night Sorrow said. He was eager to see his parents as soon as possible. However, when the Night Clan would come out, perhaps only Yi Lingxia would know. After cultivating for another 2 days, Night Sorrow decided to go into seclusion. This made him feel a little embarrassed. However, the 3 girls sensed that Night Sorrow had something to say. Night Sorrow, do you have something to say? Yang Lei asked. Yes, I am going into seclusion. This time it might take a little longer, Night Sorrow said. Go. You can't delay your cultivation. If you are tired, come out and rest. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said. She was happy and a little bitter. She was happy because Night Sorrow really cared about their feelings. She was bitter because Night Sorrow was going to cultivate alone again. I will. The 3 of you too. Don't be too tired because my heart will ache. You are all my favorite women, Night Sorrow said to the 3 girls. Aoi and Sikong Chuyu smiled in response to Night Sorrow. Then, Night Sorrow entered the secret cultivation room and the space-time pagoda. He took out the dragon spirit pill and the desolate stone. He communicated with Shao Kong to help him cultivate his bloodline power and soul power. Night Sorrow took the dragon spirit pill and started cultivating with the desolate stone in his hand. Looking at Night Sorrow cultivating she curled her lips and continued cultivating. She still wanted to get some benefits from Night Sorrow. However, Night Sorrow did not think about that. With the help of the Dragon Spirit Pill and the Desolate Stone, Night Sorrow's cultivation increased. Time slipped away and 8 days passed. Night Sorrow took out another Desolate Stone and continued to increase his cultivation. After absorbing the 2 Desolate Stones, Night Sorrow's Dragon Spirit Pill was not far from being refined. He did not continue to refine the Desolate Stone. After nearly 20 days, Night Sorrow ended his cultivation. His true Qi cultivation had reached the peak of level 3 Martial Saint Realm. His Myriad Dao Treasured Tome had also improved greatly. Although it was not at the peak of level 2 Spirit Refinement Realm, it was not far from it. As Night Sorrow punched, the scenery in front of his fist changed. Time passed and the speed increased by a lot. In other words, the quality of the power of Desolates in Night Sorrow's Myriad Dao Treasured Tome had improved by a lot. Foremost and newest Dollar Chapter End section? X. Night Sorrow roared. He was very happy with such an effect. You've improved a lot. She said as she brewed tea. It's still okay. What about you? Night Sorrow asked after sitting down. If you don't give it to me, how can I improve? I can only stabilize my true Qi cultivation. She glanced at Night Sorrow and said, You can't take it just because you want it, right? Night Sorrow drank a mouthful of water and said, Can't you have it at any time? You won't lose anything. She looked at Night Sorrow and said. Her thoughts had changed imperceptibly. She felt that there was something wrong with her when Night Sorrow did not touch her. I can't win against you in an argument. Night Sorrow could not reprimand her. After drinking a pot of tea, Night Sorrow left the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda and went to the courtyard of the mansion. When he did not see the 3 women in the mansion, Night Sorrow went to the martial arts practice field. In the martial arts practice field, Night Sorrow saw Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 cultivating with the others. When they saw Night Sorrow, the 3 of them ended their cultivation and came to Night Sorrow's side to brew tea on the stone table. 13 Where did you go? You still smell good. Aoi, who sat beside Night Sorrow, said as she sniffed. How is that possible? I just came out from the secret cultivation room. However, there were some flowers on the way. Night Sorrow's heart trembled. Because he was close to Shi, it might be that Shi's scent had contaminated his body. It's weird. It's different from the usual fragrance of flowers. It's more like a woman's scent. After saying that, Aoi stood up to brew tea. Night Sorrow let out a sigh of relief. He planned to teach Shi a lesson later. Wasn't she tricking him? Chapter 753. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. What's this fragrance? If I didn't know that you've been cultivating, I would definitely ask you where you've been fooling around. Love go little say W. Chusikong Chuyu came to Night Sorrow's side and sniffed. Ha, don't be like this. I'm going to drink tea. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He was now convinced that Aoi, Yang Lei, and Sikong Chuyu were all very smart. One mistake and there would be problems. $? Go first. After drinking tea, Night Sorrow found a rattan and said, Are you guys coming? This time, no one said anything and no one stood up. What's going on? Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. We want to improve ourselves but we're not fools. Don't you guys know your current situation? Nanli Yue said. Sigh. Then I won't play with you guys anymore. Night Sorrow waved the rattan and threw it away. In the next few days, Night Sorrow accompanied the 3 girls and cultivated in the martial arts field every day. Night Sorrow cultivated his spear art and intent realm. At the same time he consolidated his cultivation base. When they had dinner together again, Sikong Chuyu spoke. She wanted Night Sorrow to do his own things. Although it was important for everyone to be together, he couldn't delay his business. Yang Lei and Aoi also had the same idea. They didn't want to delay Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow decided to go to the island in the Realm Sea tomorrow. He also told the 3 girls that he wasn't sure when he would return. After cultivating for a night, he greeted the Sikong Chuyu trio and Papa Gu. Then he bowed towards the pavilion where Wu Lingfei was cultivating and went to the lakeside to check on Tianyu. Night Sorrow asked Tianyu to cultivate here in peace. However, Tianyu wanted to follow Night Sorrow, so Night Sorrow didn't refuse. He took the transformed Tianyu and left Sky City through the teleportation circle. After teleporting to Haohai City, Night Sorrow took out a flying ship and headed for the island in the Realm Sea with Tianyu. It was very extravagant for the two of them to sit on a flying ship, but Night Sorrow was rich enough that he didn't mind spending a few spirit stones. He and Qianyu drank some wine and arrived at the island in the Realm Sea in a very comfortable manner. Night Sorrow first went to see Yilingxia. When he saw Night Sorrow's cultivation, Yilingxia was shocked. Then his face lit up with joy. Your cultivation improved quickly and it's solid. That's great, Yilingxia said to Night Sorrow. It's not bad. Sixth uncle, what's the situation with the family? Night Sorrow asked. They'll come out soon. It won't be long. Also, your father has entered the half-step sage realm. The family wants us to stabilize, said Yilingxia. My father has cultivated to the half-step sage realm. That's great. Night Sorrow was very excited to hear that his father had entered the half-step sage realm. We don't need to worry. The Tianfeng dynasty has been destroyed and Qin Yuan is dead. Night Moon dynasty won't have much pressure to fight after returning, said Yilingxia. Sixth uncle, send a spy to find out the cultivation level of the 7-star saint from the 7-star dynasty, said Night Sorrow to Yilingxia. I've checked. This is the most difficult part. Night Moon can't handle it alone. He's a 5-star saint. If we can't handle it, we can only ask Tianji Tower for help, said Yilingxia. No need. I'll handle this. Don't ask for help. That's all. I'll go cultivate, said Night Sorrow to Yilingxia. You can handle it? Yilingxia asked in surprise. Love go little say W. Chu, I don't need to ask for help or tell the family. I don't need to rush out either. It's best to stabilize. Night Sorrow nodded. Then Night Sorrow left the place where Yilingxia and the others were cultivating. Inshi, you handle this matter. The 7-star saint is a 5-star saint. Hurry up and recover, then kill him for me. Night Sorrow communicated with Inshi. His soul power was in Inshi's mind, so Inshi naturally knew what he meant. Just now, Night Sorrow also let Inshi listen to his conversation with Yilingxia, so Inshi also knew what was going on. Alright. That's why you don't ask for help. But I want essence energy. I want to cultivate. When I become a saint again, I want to cultivate the wind essence body. At this time, Inshi didn't care so much and directly shouted her request in the space-time pagoda. Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. He didn't understand what was going on. Then Night Sorrow went to see Long Xianxing and drank a jar of wine with him. Only then did he go to Tianji Tower's camp. While chatting with Xielanjun and the others, Night Sorrow heard Inshi cursing in the space-time pagoda. He then closed his soul power, not letting Inshi listen to his conversation with Xielanjun and the others. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow went to the place where he originally camped and set up a tent. Then he flashed into the space-time pagoda. I've always kept my soul power and my soul power open so that you can feel the situation outside. I'm afraid that you will feel suffocated here, but you will shout and scream. If you do this again, I won't let you know the situation outside anymore. Night Sorrow looked at Inshi and said, Don't. This is my fault. I saw that Xielanjun was too angry, so I couldn't suppress my anger. Seeing that Night Sorrow was angry, Inshi became obedient. Be careful in the future. I can accommodate you for some things, but there is a bottom line. You can't force me to use my soul power to restrain you. I know. Inshi nodded. She really didn't want to bear the torture of her soul now. That 7-star saint is a 5-star saint. Can you kill him? Or a sneak attack? Night Sorrow asked. I can if I recover to the level of an intermediate saint. However, the prerequisite is that I have to cultivate the Wind Yuan body and the Wind Yuan escape. Inshi whispered. Isn't the Wind Yuan escape an innate skill for escaping? Night Sorrow frowned. The Wind Yuan escape is an innate skill for escaping, but it also has an auxiliary movement technique, the Wind Yuan flash. It used to be useless because I couldn't use it to fight. However, if I cultivate the Wind Yuan body, there won't be any drawbacks. The Wind Yuan flash won't be a technique that hurts the body. Inshi said. In the end, you still want essence. Here you go. Night Sorrow pushed Inshi onto the big pink bed. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow took a deep breath. I'll give you what you want. However, when I want to kill the 7-star saint, if you can't do it, it's meaningless for me to keep you alive. I won't kill you. I'll just throw you into the first level of the space-time pagoda and let you perish on your own. I'll work hard to cultivate. It's my fault today. I won't bare my fangs and brandish my claws in the future. She pulled her skirt over her body and said. She knew that Night Sorrow was still angry at her for cursing Xielanjun today. During this period of time, I admit that I've treated you well. I didn't abuse you or bully you. However, this isn't the right for you to be unreasonable with me. Night Sorrow said. She nodded and didn't say anything. She could tell that Night Sorrow was really angry. Chapter 754. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/little? I'll provide you with interesting novels to read. If you can keep giving me essence energy half a month. Half a month will do, she said. Alright, just shout if you need it during this time. Night Sorrow took out the Sun Dragon wine and drank a mouthful before leaving the Spacetime Pagoda. He walked out of the tent and flew towards the Realm Sea. He wanted to see the situation of the spatial soul-devouring beasts in the spatial turbulence. About 20 miles into the Realm Sea, Night Sorrow arrived at the edge of the spatial storm. At this time, Night Sorrow saw the spatial soul-devouring beast shuttling through the spatial turbulence. Chapter LQ, Section M of the W version. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow decided to give it a try. He wanted to see if his protective barrier could block the attacks of the spatial soul-devouring beast. After taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow activated the protective barrier of a peak 3rd grade venerable and entered the spatial turbulence. He then stopped. At this time, the two spatial soul-devouring beasts charged towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow stood there and allowed the spatial soul-devouring beasts to crash into his protective barrier. As the spatial soul-devouring beasts crashed, Night Sorrow's protective barrier caved in. However, it did not break. The two spatial soul-devouring beasts continued to crash into it. The spatial attribute is still incomparable to the sovereign attribute, Night Sorrow muttered softly and felt a little more at ease. After enduring for a while and confirming that the protective barrier could withstand the spatial soul-devouring beasts, Night Sorrow wanted to see if his body, which had been greatly enhanced by the power of Desolates, could withstand the attacks of the spatial soul-devouring beasts. After removing the protective barrier, Night Sorrow circulated the power of the myriad Tao Tome to protect himself. Whoosh, whoosh. The spatial soul-devouring beasts tore apart Night Sorrow's robes and crashed into his body. They wanted to drill into Night Sorrow's body and enter the divine sea. But in reality, the soul-devouring beast was only able to break through Night Sorrow's robes. It was unable to break through the defense of Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow waved his hand and punched out with the power of the myriad Tao Tome. A spatial soul-devouring beast was sent flying by Night Sorrow's punch. Night Sorrow's fist, imbued with the power of Desolates, sent the spatial soul-eating beast flying into the Realm Sea. Soon after, Night Sorrow held the reincarnation spear and compressed the true chi of nothingness. Then he attacked with the spear. When Night Sorrow's true energy converged into a single point, the soul-eater beast couldn't hold on any longer. Its body was obliterated, and the two halves of its body fell into the Realm Sea. After that, Night Sorrow began to cultivate in the spatial turbulence of the Realm Sea and began to fight the spatial soul-devouring beast. After increasing his cultivation, Night Sorrow's nothingness attribute was much more condensed than before. His protective barrier could withstand the attacks of the soul-devouring beast, so he had nothing to worry about. This was the importance of increasing one's cultivation. The difference between a level 2 venerable and a level 3 venerable was only 1 level, but their strength was completely different. Night Sorrow also tried to change the way he attacked with the spear. When he attacked with the 7-star Glorious Moon Spear, the energy was used on a single point. If he wanted to break through the enemy, he would use the extreme melting. After fighting for 2 hours, Night Sorrow returned to the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda and drank a mouthful of Dragon Sun wine. You're almost done refining just now, right? Let's continue. Night Sorrow beckoned Inshi. It's only been 2 hours. Can you do it? Although I'm anxious, I can't hurt your body, Inshi said. It doesn't matter. I'm indeed anxious. After our Night Moon Dynasty returns, we'll counterattack. The 7-star dynasty has a 5-star saint. This is an unavoidable obstacle, Night Sorrow said. I'll do my best, Inshi said. Love go little say W. Chew, come on. My body is strong and I've also drunk some Dragon Sun wine. I should be able to do it. Night Sorrow nodded at Inshi. Then Inshi took off her skirt and went to the big pink bed. Night Sorrow went to the side of the big pink bed and saw Inshi pull one of her legs to the side of the bed and attack directly. This time Night Sorrow wanted to deal with it, but in fact he still fought for a long time. After that, Night Sorrow drank 2 more mouthfuls of Dragon Sun wine and meditated to recover. Not only could the Dragon Sun wine replenish Yang Qi, but it also had the effect of shaking the wind. It was also a treasure wine that strengthened the body. After recovering for 2 hours, Night Sorrow entered the spatial turbulence of the Realm Sea and fought with the spatial Soul-Eater beast. At this time Night Sorrow was cultivating in all aspects. Movement technique, spear art, true chi, myriad Dao tome energy, soul energy and true chi were almost depleted. Night Sorrow used his innate energy to protect himself. Using his innate energy, the spatial attribute, to protect himself, Night Sorrow could only withstand the attacks of the spatial turbulence. He couldn't withstand the attacks of the spatial Soul-Eater beast because their attributes were of the same origin. However, Night Sorrow wasn't worried. Even if the spatial Soul-Eater beast broke through the protective energy, he still had the myriad Dao tomes energy to protect himself. After exhausting most of his true chi, Night Sorrow returned to the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. How's your refining? Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi and asked. I finished refining, but you can't do this. Wait a little longer and we'll do it again. I can't hurt your body, Yin Shi said. Okay, then continue cultivating. We'll talk about it later. Night Sorrow drank the Sun Dragon wine again and started cultivating. He was really going all out now. Not only did he want to cultivate well, but he also wanted to support Yin Shi. Yin Shi could tell that Night Sorrow had been cultivating like crazy ever since he heard that the Night Moon dynasty was coming back and that there was a saint in the Seven Stars dynasty. After resting, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate in the spatial turbulence of the Realm Sea. All-round cultivation and improvement were what Night Sorrow wanted the most. Who knew how many Soul-Eater beasts had been killed by Night Sorrow, but there were simply too many of them. Night Sorrow just had to travel back and forth in one area to fight, so he didn't have to worry about not having a target to fight. As the battle went on, Night Sorrow's spear art became sharper and sharper. Every spear attack was compressed to the extreme. In other words, he displayed the dominance of the Void attribute as the supreme attribute. Night Sorrow returned to the Pagoda of Time when he was almost exhausted. After drinking a mouthful of Sun Dragon wine, Night Sorrow waved at Yin Shi. You have to pay attention to yourself, Yin Shi said as she took off her skirt. It's okay. I want to relax now. Night Sorrow shook his head at Yin Shi. After giving Yin Shi his essence chi, Night Sorrow began to meditate and recover. Yin Shi also began to cultivate. With the help of Night Sorrow's essence chi, Yin Shi's wind origin body had improved greatly. Night Sorrow continued to cultivate. Fortunately, Yin Shi had a bottom line. She controlled the pace of some things and only needed Night Sorrow once or twice a day. Half a month later, Yi Shang's cultivation was extremely solid, and Yin Shi's cultivation had reached the level of entering the Saint Realm again. Chapter 755. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? I will provide you with wonderful novels to read. Okay, let's go somewhere else. I hope you can succeed, Night Sorrow said to Yin Shi. If I can cultivate the body of wind, I can also help you with your cultivation. Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and said. You should enter the Sage Realm first. Night Sorrow said. Then Night Sorrow left the island and went to a mountain in the Haohai City area. Night Sorrow felt that it was very quiet here and no one would disturb him. So he let Yin Shi out. Night Sorrow thought for a while and gave Yin Shi half a bottle of spiritual fluid of life and spiritual fluid of origin. He also told her how to use them. More? New, fastest on $X. You really care about people. Maybe this is the reason why your 3 fiancés are so loyal to you. Yin Shi took the spiritual fluid of life and spiritual fluid of origin and said. Night Sorrow didn't say anything and just smiled. Yin Shi sat down cross-legged and started to advance. In the beginning it was very stable, but as her aura climbed, 2 types of energy appeared on her body. Her body would sometimes be filled with green energy, and sometimes it would be filled with blue energy. Yi Sorrow knew that this was a transition between 2 extreme forms of energy. Love Gon Little Say W. Chu 4 hours later Yin Shi's aura changed. The power of rules appeared on her body. At the same time the energy on her body also changed dramatically. There was blue and green and blue. Then it integrated into Yin Shi's body. Yi Shang felt that Yin Shi had changed. Her silver hair, which was originally very bright, had a luster flowing through it like water ripples. At this time, a tribulation cloud appeared in the sky and rolled above Yin Shi's head. Yin Shi swung her hands in front of her chest and abdomen. Then she stood up and took out a long sword with her right hand. When Yin Shi was ready, the thunder and lightning struck down. Night Sorrow found that the lightning was much stronger than the lightning that appeared when he was advancing. They were not on the same level, but he could understand. After all, One was a venerable level thunder tribulation, and the other was a saint level thunder tribulation. They were not on the same level at all. While Night Sorrow was pondering, the thunder tribulation descended. At this moment, Night Sorrow witnessed the speed of Yin Shi, who had cultivated the wind essence body. When she dodged and retreated, Night Sorrow could barely see her figure clearly. He could only see the sword chi slashing towards the thunder tribulation. The lightning was strong, but Yin Shi's speed was fast. When she was dodging, she quickly attacked with her sword. With dozens of rapid strikes, the lightning was neutralized. Love Gon Little Seiko. After the lightning disappeared, the tribulation clouds in the sky also disappeared. It was just a bolt of tribulation lightning. However, after the thunder tribulation, there was no colorful light. Only a ball of light fell on Yin Shi's body. Then Yin Shi began to meditate and cultivate. Night Sorrow took out a jar of Longyang wine, poured a bowl and drank slowly. During this period of time he had been suppressed by Yin Shi. If it was an ordinary person he would not be able to withstand it. However, Night Sorrow also found a benefit. After drinking the Longyang wine, the excess Yang Qi was suppressed by Yin Shi, and the remaining energy was used to strengthen his body. 2 hours later Yin Shi stood up. It's done. My current speed is not far from when I was at my peak. When my cultivation recovers a little, even if I meet Xiaolanjun, I won't be defeated. Yin Shi, Senior Xia is still good to me. Don't be hostile to her in the future, okay? What you have done is in the past. Look at the future. Let go of your hatred and you will live a better life. Night Sorrow said. Okay. I won't talk about this in the future. I also hope that you won't embarrass me in front of her. This is the last thing I want to accept. Consider it my request. Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and said, if there is a need to meet, I will say that you are my friend. I will say that after I was kidnapped by you, we became friends. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said. Yin Shi did not speak. She only bowed to Night Sorrow. There are some things that I can and will hide. However, I will not lie to my Aunt Faye and my fiancé. I will not lie to the people around me. However, I will tell them about the situation between us. I believe that they will not look down on you. Night Sorrow said. Yin Shi nodded. She also knew that this was Night Sorrow's bottom line. Okay, the rest is for you to slowly recover. I will continue to improve my cultivation. Night Sorrow said. At this time, Night Sorrow's cultivation had reached a bottleneck. However, he did not want to break through now. He was now a peak level 3 venerable. If he broke through again he would become a mid-level venerable. Therefore he planned to consolidate his cultivation at this stage. In addition, he wanted to let the Myriad Tao Treasured Tome catch up and reach the same level. Do you still want to go to the Realm Sea to cultivate? Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, yes. Actually, you can also go there to consolidate your cultivation. If you are afraid of being seen by the saints of Tianji Tower, we can go to another island. Yin Shi nodded. She also felt that this was a good idea. After Night Sorrow went back to bid farewell to Xiaolanjun and the others, he went to the island where Yin Shi used to live. Night Sorrow and Yin Shi entered the spatial turbulence in the Realm Sea to cultivate every day. Yin Shi cultivated the wind origin body, which was equivalent to combining the elements of wind and water. Her attack power was strong. Coupled with the power of rules, she could kill the spatial soul-eater beast. However, the spatial storm did not train her at all. It only helped her consolidate her cultivation. This situation also made Night Sorrow understand why no saints entered the spatial turbulence in the Realm Sea to cultivate. Yin Shi's situation was special. She was not training her cultivation but consolidating it. The effect was still very obvious. Night Sorrow also planned to level up the Myriad Tao Treasured Tome. Only by leveling up could he use the Desolate Stone to continue improving his attributes. He could not use the Desolate Stone now because his cultivation had reached a critical point. Before he was about to break through, Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi. I know what you are going to say. Don't stay too far away from you. Otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Actually, I also want to go into seclusion. Let's enter the space-time pagoda together. Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and said. Since we are both going into seclusion, let's enter the space-time pagoda. At least it will be safe. Night Sorrow nodded and then entered the space-time pagoda with Yin Shi. After entering the space-time pagoda, Yin Shi made a pot of tea. After drinking the tea, Night Sorrow went to the spiritual jade stone stool to cultivate. Yin Shi also sat on the futon to cultivate. With the dragon spirit pill that Night Sorrow had given her, her cultivation had skyrocketed. Now she was charging towards becoming a 2-star saint. In the past, she had been able to cultivate to the level of a 7-star saint. She was not a brainless person. She knew that Yi Shang's luck was shocking and that he was also her nemesis. At the same time, he could also help her grow. However, there was one thing that she could not go against Yi Shang's wishes. She also realized that Night Sorrow did not force her to do anything. Therefore she felt at ease. She also knew that she had borrowed Night Sorrow's luck. It was as if the problem of her body that had not been solved for many years had been solved easily. Although the solution was a little unorthodox. Chapter 756. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow had a good foundation in the Myriad Tao Tome, so it was not difficult for him to cultivate and level up. During cultivation, Night Sorrow's body would provide him with energy to strengthen his soul. Then he would use his soul power and absorbed energy to strengthen his body and the energy in his body. As long as Night Sorrow did not suppress his level up, he could level up while cultivating the Myriad Tao Tome. He had been suppressing it because he did not want his foundation to be unstable. As time passed, Night Sorrow's cultivation of the Myriad Tao Tome increased sharply. With a roar in his body, the energy in the Myriad Tao Tome surged and broke through the bottleneck of the 2nd level of the Myriad Tao Tome and entered the 3rd level of the Myriad Tao Tome. Then, it began to circulate naturally. Success. Night Sorrow's breakthrough ended perfectly. The energy in his body and the strength of his body increased again. Night Sorrow did not get up and continued to stabilize his cultivation. While stabilizing his cultivation, Night Sorrow also started cultivating his soul power and bloodline talent. As for the cultivation of his chi, Night Sorrow did not intend to level up. He wanted to suppress his cultivation and continue to stabilize it. Night Sorrow used 3 days to stabilize his cultivation. When Night Sorrow opened his eyes and stood up, she was making tea and tasting it. Let's go out and cultivate. After drinking a cup of tea and nodding to Shi, Night Sorrow wrapped Shi with his soul power and left the space-time treasure pagoda. Then they entered the space turbulence in the realm sea to fight with the space turbulence storm and the space soul-eating beast. Watching Night Sorrow cultivate, she also entered the space turbulence. She had just become a 2-star saint and needed to stabilize her cultivation. Actual combat was the best way to do so. After cultivating for 4 hours, Night Sorrow returned to the edge of the island. He took out the Longyang wine. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow changed to ordinary wine and drank 2 mouthfuls. At this moment Shi also came back. The blood chi in your body has increased again. Your body refining technique is indeed powerful. I already said that it doesn't suit you. If it suits you, you can have it. Night Sorrow glanced at Shi and said, I'm just lamenting. I don't want it. Shi explained. She didn't want Night Sorrow to have any misunderstandings because it wouldn't do her any good. In addition, she also understood that if it was suitable for her, Night Sorrow would give it to her because she was under Night Sorrow's control. After recovering for a while, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate in the realm sea. At this time, the soul-devouring beast in the chaotic streams of space had less and less influence on him. Some time ago, when Night Sorrow entered the chaotic streams of space, the soul-devouring beast broke through his protective shield and crashed into him. He still felt a lot of pain. Now he only felt a little numb. This was the effect of the Myriad Tao Tome strengthening his body and increasing his energy. Every time Night Sorrow entered the realm sea, he only wore battle pants because even if he wore an outer robe, it couldn't withstand the soul-devouring beast's damage. In addition, the soul-devouring beast only attacked Night Sorrow's chest and neck. As for Shi, she didn't want the soul-devouring beast to touch her body like a loach. However, she could rely on her dodging and attacking speed to avoid the soul-devouring beast's attacks. At the same time, she could send the soul-devouring beast flying and kill it. After cultivating for another 6 or 7 days, Night Sorrow decided to go back to the original camping area because he was afraid that if something happened, no one would be able to find him. Night Sorrow, if your protective energy is stronger, you can wrap me up and I'll take you. We'll have a chance to enter Clear Sky City. Shi looked at Clear Sky City in the realm sea and said, That's a good idea, but we don't know if the spatial storm only envelopes the periphery of Clear Sky City or if the inside of Clear Sky City is also filled with chaotic streams of space. If the inside of Clear Sky City has chaotic streams of space like the outside or even more violent, then it's useless for us to enter. We can't even investigate. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and shook his head at Yin Shi. Then he enveloped Yin Shi with his soul power and brought her back to the pagoda of time and space. Then they returned to the place where Yi Lingxie and the others were staying. Night Sorrow and Yin Shi had different thoughts. Yin Shi didn't care about the outside world and only pursued self-improvement. However, Night Sorrow was different. He had worries and things to deal with. This was the difference between interpersonal relationships and social relationships. Then Night Sorrow went to greet Xiaolanjun and the others. When Xiaolanjun saw Night Sorrow, she criticized Night Sorrow. She was worried that Night Sorrow would be intercepted by Yin Shi and the enemy forces if he ran around like this. The Extreme Heaven Tower had destroyed the Tianfeng dynasty, the Silver Demon Villa, and even the Western Green sect had been crippled. However, there were too many factions that were hostile to the Night Moon dynasty. Not to mention others, just the few great dynasties wanted to strangle Yishang to death. The few dynasties could still afford to lose a high-level venerable. It was also possible that there would be more assassinations. In addition, there were many people in the 9 realms and 18 states who were hostile to the Empyrean Terminus Tower. They were unwilling to see the Empyrean Terminus Tower grow stronger in the future. It was normal for them to target Yishang. Night Sorrow accepted Xiaolanjuan's criticism with a smile. He knew that whoever wanted to kill him or assassinate him would be unlucky. The other party wouldn't directly send a saint to kill him, right? With a super fighter like Yin Shi, wouldn't anyone below the Saint Realm die? After chatting with Xiaolanjun for a while, Night Sorrow went to visit Long Xianxing. This body of yours is very tyrannical. I reckon that even the Fifth Emperor Li Feng of the ancient times was at this level. Long Xianxing glanced at Yishang and said. Night Sorrow had heard of the name Li Feng. He was an expert in the ancient times. His body was his weapon and his strength was incomparable. Then Long Xianxing asked Night Sorrow if he still needed the Xian Turtle Crystal and the Blood Spirit Turtle Crystal. If he needed, he could help Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow thanked Long Xianxing for his kindness. He had enough resources now. The Blood Spirit Turtle Crystal that Long Xianxing gave him last time could definitely support him to cultivate the Myriad Dao Tome to the Saint Realm, which was the Golden Body Realm. However, Night Sorrow also asked if there were any resources that were of a higher level than the Blood Spirit Turtle Crystal. Long Xianxing thought for a while. There are some. For example, the blood essence of high-level monsters or the blood essence condensed into blood crystals after death. They all have the effect of strengthening the body. In the Ice Plain Sea there is a monster called the Blood Spirit Jiao. In the Desolate Sea, there is a monster called the Four-Clawed Silver Dragon. They can produce high-level energy to strengthen the body. Thank you, Senior. Night Sorrow bowed to Long Xianxing. That's nothing. I walk the path of inaction. That's why I don't kill. Your path is different from mine. To go against the heavens and fight for supremacy, that is to kill your way out. Go ahead and do it. Long Xianxing said. Night Sorrow then bade farewell to Long Xianxing. Night Sorrow had a lot of life spirit liquid, but he didn't want to use it unless it was a critical moment. He just kept it as a backup. LT positive Y version first $1 post. Chapter 757. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Where? Night Sorrow asked. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao say www.ichuxs.com. There are 4-clawed silver dragons in the wilderness behind the Silver Demon Villa. They should be a clan, Yin Shi said. Long Xianxing said that we don't need to go on the same path, but I don't want to kill for no reason. We'll see when the time comes. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow took Yin Shi back to Sky City. He could still cultivate in the Realm Sea, but he didn't want Xikong Chuyu, Yang Lei and Aoi to worry. He was also afraid that Wu Lingfei wouldn't be able to see him. After returning to Sky City, Night Sorrow went to the training field first. At the practice ground, Night Sorrow saw the members of the God-Slaying team working hard to cultivate. At this moment, the God-Slaying squad already had 4 supremacies. Apart from Night Sorrow, Yun Huang and Ling Long, Liang Yu had also reached the supremacy realm. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao say www.ichuxs.com. Other than that, there were also a large number of late Void Inquiry Stage team members. Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu had both taken the Extreme Void Pill some time ago. After stabilizing their cultivation bases, they had already advanced to the 8th level of the Void Inquiry Stage. Even though Xueling, Hou Jian, Lei Bao, Nan Liyue and Lei Zheng were slightly weaker, they were still at the 7th Void Inquiry Stage. The others were also at the mid-void inquiry stage. Only a few of them were at the early void inquiry stage. As for those who had yet to attain the void inquiry stage, only Ma Shizhuang, Tang Tian and Chu Ning had managed to do so. This was not because of their innate talent and hard work. Instead, it was because they had only cultivated for a short period of time. Aoi had also advanced to the 4th level of the void inquiry stage. With the help of the Great Void Pill, she easily reached the mid-void inquiry stage after stabilizing her cultivation base at the 3rd level of the void inquiry stage. After chatting with everyone for a while, Night Sorrow returned to his residence. He had some matters to discuss with Wu Lingfei. Forever free of SVs equals look at a small D say asterisk G. While Night Sorrow was drinking tea in his mansion, Wu Lingfei came and sat across from Night Sorrow. You've made good progress, but you still need to rest. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. It's the same for Auntie Fei. Don't work too hard. Right now the Eastern Shen region is as stable as Mount Tai. With Senior Long Shenxing around, we will be able to withstand any storm. Night Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei smiled at Night Sorrow. It had been many years since someone cared for her and she enjoyed it. Yishang then asked if there was a way to inform him immediately if he was away for a while and something happened here. Following this, Wu Ling concubine told Night Sorrow that he could just make a communication crystal. As long as his spirit power entered a liquid state, he would be able to do this. After explaining, Wu Lingfei looked at Yishang. You're going out? Where are you going? Auntie Fei, I plan to go to the Supreme River space again. Last time, I didn't investigate it carefully enough. As an ancient battlefield, that place shouldn't be simple. Love gone little sake, Night Sorrow said. But it's still very dangerous for you to go there. Wu Lingfei thought for a while and said, Auntie Fei, I actually have a hunch that the Netherworld world will declare war on the 9 regions sooner or later. Since there aren't many intelligent Netherworld beasts in the Supreme River space, I'll try to go there again before they completely occupy it and investigate it. There were many saints in the ancient times. If one of them died and left a sacred treasure there, it would be best if we can get it. Night Sorrow told her his thoughts. Wu Lingfei thought for a while and nodded. You have the time and space pagoda. In terms of safety, unless you encounter a saint, there shouldn't be a problem. Go there. Don't fight. Just look for opportunities. Even though she was worried, she did not stop him. In the past, Night Sorrow, who was at the Void Inquiry stage, managed to come back alive from the Supreme River space. Now, Night Sorrow was at the peak of the 3rd level of the Venerable Realm. His body cultivation had also improved greatly. His strength was also on a completely different level from before. As for whether he could enter the Supreme River space, Wu Lingfei did not need to ask because Night Sorrow's attribute allowed him to ignore the suppression of other spaces. Next, under Wu Lingfei's guidance, Night Sorrow made 3 messaging crystals. He gave one to Wu Lingfei, one to Yang Lei and the others, and the last one to Yiling Lan. Looking at Night Sorrow, Wu Lingfei felt a little reluctant. You can use the Golden Phoenix flexible armor as you wish. It won't affect me at all. Don't worry about me, Auntie Fei. I'll rest for 2 days before leaving. You don't have to cultivate during these 2 days. You can also relax for 2 days. Night Sorrow said with a smile. In the next 2 days, Night Sorrow had a good rest. After knowing Night Sorrow's decision, the Sikong Chiyu trio did not object. They just reminded Night Sorrow to be careful. Night Sorrow also gave the messaging crystal to Aoi. Among the 3 women, Aoi was the calmest. After resting for 2 days, it was time to leave. Night Sorrow gave the last messaging crystal to Yiling Lan. Night Sorrow left Little Kong to cultivate by the lake. This time he had to endure the pressure, and it was inconvenient for Chanyu, who had entered the Sovereign Realm. Although Chanyu wanted to follow Night Sorrow, he still listened to Night Sorrow's decision. Then the group sent Night Sorrow to the teleportation array. Night Sorrow, be careful when you enter. If there's a problem with the seal, fix it. Wu Lingfei said. She did not want the nether beasts to rush out and cause trouble. Then Night Sorrow sat on the teleportation array and left the city in the sky. This Golden Phoenix really cares about you. She said to Night Sorrow. Of course, Auntie Fei has always treated me like family. Night Sorrow and she communicated. With the teleportation array, Night Sorrow did not need to spend much effort on his journey. He went straight to the Medicine Valley. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow did not want the people of Medicine Valley to worry about him. He flew directly to the cliff where the space of Supreme River was. Then, Night Sorrow sent Shi out of the Pagoda of Time and Space. He knew that it was the same whether Shi was in the Pagoda of Time and Space because the laws of the world and space would detect it. Just like when he went to the void dimension, no one was allowed to bring flying mounts above the 4th level. This is the Medicine Valley, where the entrance to Supreme River is, Night Sorrow said. Golden Phoenix has a great temperament. With Dongxuan's origin in her body, her future achievements will surpass Xiaolanjun and the others. Yin Shi's mind was still filled with Wu Lingfei, so she did not pay much attention to Night Sorrow's words. The laws of this space are very complete. I don't know if it will work if I bring you in, Night Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei had tested its strength the last time and knew that the spatial passage of Supreme River was very suppressive. This was also the reason why she did not follow Night Sorrow into the Death Dimension when Night Sorrow brought her into the Death Dimension. Now, it was also because Night Sorrow's cultivation base had improved tremendously that he dared to bring Yin Shi along. Then both of them began to fly downwards. Night Sorrow and Yin Shi were extremely fast and soon reached the bottom of the cliff. Come here. I hope my protective shield can melt the seal and let the energy enter directly. If the seal is broken, I will have to repair it, Night Sorrow said to Yin Shi. Yin Shi nodded and stood beside Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow took a deep breath and propped up his protective shield before walking towards the spatial passage. The seal's energy blocked Night Sorrow's advance. However, Night Sorrow then performed a spatial rend and cut open the seal's energy without destroying the seal's foundation. He then charged forward and brought Yin Shi through the seal to the entrance of the spatial passage. Night Moon's spatial rend is indeed powerful, Yin Shi, who was holding Night Sorrow's left arm, said emotionally. Chapter 758. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Okay, my speed is not something an ordinary saint can contend with. If we can't handle it, we'll run first. There's no need to retreat, Yin Shi said. What saint? Nothing much and you're planning to run. Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi with disdain. So what if I'm a saint? If I can't win, I'll run. Am I waiting for death? Saints are also cultivators. Their battle analysis and handling are no different from ordinary cultivators. Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Okay, come closer to me. This way my protective shield can be compressed and more condensed," Night Sorrow said to Yin Shi. Yin Shi did not stand on ceremony. She directly leaned in front of Night Sorrow and hugged Night Sorrow's waist with both hands. Night Sorrow compressed his protective shield and then cut forward. As Night Sorrow's protective shield was cut, his body began to move forward. The energy in the spatial passage pressed down on Night Sorrow, causing his protective shield to shake a little. Yin Shi also focused and was ready to attack at any time. Firstly, it was to fight outside. Secondly, if Night Sorrow could not withstand it, she would use the power of law to protect the two of them. Even if they entered the spatial turbulence, they would not be crushed by the pressure in the spatial passage. In 2 breaths of time, Night Sorrow rushed out of the spatial passage. Once out of the spatial passage, Night Sorrow began to cut left and right to dodge. There are no saint-level nether beasts here. Protect yourself and let me kill them. Yin Shi checked and said to Night Sorrow. Then Night Sorrow withdrew his protective shield and let Yin Shi out. Yin Shi could also rush out, but breaking through Night Sorrow's protective shield would consume a lot of Night Sorrow's vital energy. Yin Shi rushed out and began to kill the nether beast. Without saint-level nether beasts, there was no pressure on her. It was a complete one-sided slaughter. Night Sorrow also joined the battle. Nether beasts that were not at the late stage of the Venerable Realm were no threat to him. The battle ended in 15 minutes. Almost none of the nether beasts managed to escape. They were all killed by Yin Shi and Night Sorrow. Collect the crystal cores. These are the pinnacle of the death attribute, nether energy crystal cores. They're quite valuable. Love Gon Little Sake, Night Sorrow said to Yin Shi, and the two of them began to collect the crystal nuclei. After cleaning up the battlefield, Night Sorrow took out a jar of wine and threw it to Yin Shi. Then he opened another jar for himself. Yin Shi only drank a little and then put it away. Night Sorrow said after drinking a few mouthfuls of wine, "Last time I was only scouting in secret. My main goal was to find the spatial passageway. This time the two of us will search in detail. It's impossible that no experts have fallen in the primordial battlefield. If we're lucky, we might be able to find something." Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and said, "This depends on luck and opportunity. If there's a holy treasure longsword, can you give it to me?" Night Sorrow asked, "What's the level of the weapon you're using now? Is it not a holy treasure?" Yin Shi's explanation gave Night Sorrow some information. The holy treasures of the 9 Zones world were extremely rare now. Even if there were, they had to be nurtured by themselves. Most of the saints also use spirit weapons. However, because of the protection of the power of rules, the spirit weapons would not break. Xia Lanjuan's combat strength was strong because her weapon was a half-step holy treasure. It was between a supreme-grade spirit weapon and a holy treasure. Night Sorrow understood that it was indeed very difficult for a holy treasure to appear. It was very difficult to nurture it. It had a lot to do with the attribute, compatibility and so on. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow and Yin-Shi began to move forward. This time, it was different from the last time Night Sorrow had come in alone. Last time, Night Sorrow had avoided the nether beasts. This time he specifically chased after the nether beasts and killed them. Let's see how lucky I am this time. If I can get a saint-tier weapon that is compatible with your attributes, I can give it to you. But if it's not compatible with your attributes, don't even think about it. I still have 3 fiancées and my Aunt Fei, Yishan said. Okay, you can arrange it as you see fit, Yin-Shi said. Then the two continued to move forward, killing as they moved forward. Night Sorrow felt that the 9 Zones world and the Nether world would fight sooner or later. The Supreme River Space and the Nether world had the same attribute. Therefore, killing the Nether beast here was equivalent to reducing the strength of the Nether world in advance. Love, Gone Little, say, W. Chu Yin-Shi agreed with Night Sorrow's opinion. Even if she did not agree, she had to agree with Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's opinion also made Yin-Shi understand that Night Sorrow was a big-hearted person. He did not have any selfish thoughts. This was because most people who came in here wanted to benefit themselves. When the two were tired, they would rest in the space-time pagoda. Seeing that Night Sorrow had to work hard to cultivate for a while every time he recovered, Yin-Shi was very impressed. She knew that at Night Sorrow's age, it was very rare to have such a temperament. After another round of cultivation, Yishang stood up and stretched his arms. The bones in his body emitted crackling sounds. You don't have to work so hard, right? You have no opponents in the 9 Zones world, Yin-Shi said to Night Sorrow as she looked at him. This time we will stop for a few days. I will refine the desolate stone. Night Sorrow planned to cultivate his attributes to saturation. When the power of desolates was saturated, he could use the power of desolates to strengthen his body again. He believed that at that time, his body-tempering cultivation would far surpass Huang Wudao's desolate sword physique. Yin-Shi asked when she saw Yishang take out a desolate stone that was larger and of higher quality than the one she had given him. Night Sorrow sighed and told her about the Golden Growler's corpse. He also told her about the Golden Growler's indestructible soul. If the body is indestructible, the soul is indestructible. This is beyond the limit of lifespan. For a corpse from 10,000 years ago to have such a situation, the situation is indeed complicated. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yin-Shi's expression changed. This matter was beyond her imagination. Ignoring the astonished Yin-Shi, Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate. He knew that there were some things that Yin-Shi needed time to digest. After sorting out his emotions, he looked at Night Sorrow who was cultivating. Yin-Shi had eaten the dragon spirit pill and was also cultivating. She was also anxious to recover her strength because this was a chaotic world. YC.Q original chapter *on W. In this time, Night Sorrow went into seclusion for half a month and only managed to refine half of the desolate stone. Night Sorrow did not continue refining because the power of desolates in the desolate stone was very rich. Furthermore, the desolate stone contained pure energy. If he continued to refine it, his foundation would be unstable. Night Sorrow stopped cultivating. Yin-Shi, who was meditating, also stood up and went to make tea. You've been cultivating for half a month. You're too persistent, Yin-Shi said. Our foundation is a bit unstable. Let's continue fighting later and settle down, Night Sorrow said. Whether our foundation is stable or not is very important. Shall we continue? Yin-Shi asked. She also needed to use battles to increase her cultivation. Yin-Shi was also under pressure because when Night Moon returned from the dynasty, she had to defeat the 7-star saint. The 7-star saint was a 5-star saint, so she had to work hard to recover. Chapter 759. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. You're right. There's one more thing. I've successfully condensed the wind essence body and it contains a lot of yang energy. It can also help you with your cultivation, Yin-Shi said. Okay, let's talk about this later. Night Sorrow's soul power wrapped around Yin-Shi and they left the time-space pagoda. Now, the two of them were not worried about encountering opponents that they could not contend against. Night Sorrow had a holy treasure in his hand, and She had the cultivation of a saint. Her speed was also extremely fast. In She's words, even if she could not win, she could still run away. She did not harm herself by using the wind essence escape technique. Without any worries, Night Sorrow and She had nothing to be afraid of. They just charged forward. Night Sorrow used the two weapons alternately. The battle intensity was not high. He used the space-splitting spear to increase his compatibility. When the battle was intense, he used the reincarnation spear. Seeing Night Sorrow doing this, She, who was puzzled, asked Night Sorrow why he did this. She thought about what Night Sorrow told her about cultivating the soul doppelganger. You've already reached this step. You're indeed powerful. I've thought about cultivating the soul doppelganger in the past, but I don't have a top-notch medium. It's too late to cultivate it now. Love go little sake Chuin, she said. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and did not mention that he still had the Phantom Dao Stone. This was because She was not suitable to cultivate the soul doppelganger now. He could not lose his strength. The Seven-Star Saint was still waiting to be dealt with. During the day they would advance and kill. At night, the two of them would kill ordinary small demonic beasts and drink some wine. Then they would enter the time-space pagoda to rest and cultivate. After a few days, Night Sorrow collected a lot of alchemy materials and ores. However, he still did not find any traces of an expert's battle. Night Sorrow was not discouraged. He believed that he would gain something. It was impossible that there were no remnants in an ancient battlefield. She admired Night Sorrow's steadiness, because even if he didn't discover it, Night Sorrow was not anxious at all. After setting up camp once more, Night Sorrow intended to charge into the fourth rank of the Exalt realm. He'd been forcefully suppressing it during this period of time, and he felt that there weren't any problems with the condensation and control of his true energy. After taking a look at She, Night Sorrow greeted Shao Kong and told She that he was going into seclusion. Although he was in the same level as She in the Spatial Treasure Pagoda, Night Sorrow was not worried about his safety. First of all, She would not dare to attack him. As long as the soul energy he left in the Silver She Divine Pearl exploded, She would die. Other than this factor, Night Sorrow still had Shao Kong as insurance. As long as She made any strange movements, Shao Kong would bring her to another level. Within the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, Shao Kong was the master. After spending a day and a night, Night Sorrow raised his true energy to the fourth rank of the Exalt realm. His true energy had become much more vigorous. This was a small leap from the beginner Exalt realm to the intermediate Exalt realm. Night Sorrow opened his eyes and took a look at She. He then continued to meditate and stabilize his cultivation. After stabilizing his cultivation for 6 hours, Night Sorrow stood up and said, "Make a pot of tea." You're probably the only one in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures to use a saint as a maid. She muttered and began to make tea. You're also the only one in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures to kidnap a venerable. By the way, why didn't you make a move when I was in seclusion? Night Sorrow asked. Was there a need? If you died, I wouldn't be able to live either, right? I believe that you would have a backup plan. Moreover, you're pretty good to me. She said. Night Sorrow smiled and sat down at the tea table to drink tea. He was very satisfied with She's attitude. When She spoke, her soul didn't fluctuate at all. It was obvious that she was telling the truth. After drinking tea, Night Sorrow relaxed his emotions. She did the same. She had been working hard to cultivate during this period. Night Sorrow looked at She and thought for a moment. How many of the 20 Dragon Spirit pills do you have left? If you need them, I'll give them to you. I've recovered 1 rank, so 3 or 4 pills won't be enough. I still have 7. She took out the bottle of Dragon Spirit pills. You're quite sincere. However, since your foundation is stable, you can eat as much as you want. I can still afford to raise you. Here's another 10. Night Sorrow took out another 10 Dragon Spirit pills. You're really rich. I feel like I'm a prodigal when I eat like this, She said. Night Sorrow shook his head and didn't say anything. In fact, it was a waste for She to eat like this. However, Night Sorrow still had a lot of Dragon Spirit pills and materials, so he wasn't worried that the God-slaying squad wouldn't have enough. Do you need me to help you with your cultivation? She asked. No need. I won't take advantage of a woman. Besides, you don't have to be so nice to me, right? You should hate me, Night Sorrow said. Would you believe me if I said that I've thought it through? The destruction of my cultivation is my own fault. I can't blame anyone else. As for being nice to you, it's actually just flattery. I'm trying my best to live a better life, said Yin Shi. She wasn't just saying this to Yi Shang, but also to herself. I don't need any flattery. As long as you're well, I won't do anything to you. It's not easy to live, Night Sorrow said with some emotion. Then the two left the space-time pagoda and continued forward. After 2 days, Night Sorrow saw some changes in the terrain. It wasn't naturally formed. There was a deep trench in the ground. This is a sword mark. Night Sorrow looked down and said. Yin Shi also looked down. It can't be? It contains wind attribute energy. To be able to fight here and leave such a deep sword mark, it must be an expert. Let's continue to investigate, Night Sorrow said. It was true that they found sword marks and traces of battle, but it was hard to determine where the battlefield was. Because experts were extremely fast, they could travel hundreds of miles in 2 flashes. If one was chasing and the other was escaping, it was hard to say how far the distance would be. I hope it's a sage with a sage treasure. Let's take a closer look. Yin Shi was also interested. Then the two of them investigated nearby, following the traces of battle. They killed any nether beast that blocked their way. Then the two of them saw traces of sword chi. After investigating, they found that they were of the water attribute. Forever Ogio watch small 8 for free, said. Hee Night Sorrow, as long as one of them leaves behind a sacred weapon, then my weapon will be secured, Yin Shi said excitedly. Selfish. Can't you think of leaving behind better treasures such as cultivation methods? Night Sorrow glared at Yin Shi. For me, a sacred level sword is the most useful, but you're right, Yin Shi said. Cultivation methods are the best. My current cultivation method can only be cultivated to the saint realm. Cultivation methods mean inheritance, which can increase the strength of the 9 zones. Night Sorrow said. Although Long Xianxing said that he would look for a cultivation technique for him, there might not be any suitable one for him. Besides, if he could obtain an additional cultivation technique, it would bring benefits to many people. Yin Shi stopped talking because she felt that her perspective on the overall situation was not as good as Night Sorrow's. If she continued talking, it would make her seem inferior. According to the direction of the sword chi and the attack, the two of them continued to fumble their way forward. Then the two of them saw a severed mountain range. Chapter 760. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. This is an expert. At the very least, I couldn't do this when I was a 7-star saint, Yin Shi said in shock as she looked at the broken mountain range. 10,000 years ago, the 9 regions world was at its peak. There were many experts, and it was normal for there to be peak saints, Night Sorrow said as they continued to move forward. As they moved forward, Night Sorrow saw traces of an intense battle. At that time, there should be sword chi everywhere and gullies extending in all directions. The two of them checked carefully. Then Yin Shi called out to Night Sorrow because she saw a corpse on one side of the mountain range. It was half a corpse with 2 legs and half a waist. This is not important. Let's go over there and take a look. Night Sorrow flew toward the other side of the mountain range gap, and Yin Shi followed beside Night Sorrow. Then Night Sorrow saw an unexpected scene. It was a corpse without a lower body, and it was holding a long sword in its hand to keep its body from falling. This is a senior cultivator of the wind attribute, Night Sorrow said as he looked at the corpse. He also saw the storage ring on the corpse's left hand. Then Night Sorrow found something wrong. The half-corpse he saw at the beginning still had flesh and blood that had not decayed, but the half-corpse here had turned into bones. As if she knew what Night Sorrow was thinking, Yin Shi said, "This senior must have been injured first, then cut in half at the waist. After losing all hope, he burned all his essence and blood to fight. It seems that his opponent did not have an easy time. Otherwise, his opponent would have taken away his storage ring and weapon. Even if they didn't perish together, both sides should have been injured," Night Sorrow said with some emotion. This was not the first time he had seen such a situation. The Dark Spirit Saint and Life Saintess had been like this too. When 2 saints fight, their strength is almost the same. If one fights with his life, the other will not have an easy time, Yin Shi said. "Okay, take a look at the weapon and then we'll bury him," Night Sorrow said to Yin Shi. Judging from the energy fluctuations, this is a saint-grade longsword. 10,000 years ago, there were many saint-grade experts, so many saint-grade weapons were passed down. Shen-Tsang Yin Shi bowed to the corpse and took the sword from the corpse's hand. Holding the long sword, Yin Shi waved it and a ray of sword light cut open the mountain rock beside her. Night Sorrow took the corpse's storage ring, then went to the other side of the mountain gap, wrapped it in energy and took half of the corpse back, then used the sky-piercing spear to dig a hole. I don't know which side you belong to, but taking your Saint Crystal is a blasphemy, but it can benefit future generations. Night Sorrow stretched out his left hand and took out the Saint Crystal from the skull. Night Sorrow then buried the corpse in the pit. Inshi studied the long sword. The long sword was called the Flowing Wind Sword, but Inshi kept it in his storage ring. Why not? Night Sorrow asked. It needs to be nourished. I can use it immediately, but it's not as powerful as my original long sword, Inshi said. Take the time to nourish it. When the time comes, give me your current long sword. I'll give it to someone. My sixth senior sister has the wind attribute, Night Sorrow said. Well, it won't take long. Half a month will do, Inshi said. Then the two continued to explore the surrounding area, and the scope of their exploration became larger and larger. This was because it was normal for an injured saint to run 1,000 or even a few thousand miles. At noon on the third day, the two found a special situation in another place. The environment was similar to when Night Sorrow saw the corpse of the life saintess in the death space. It was a lifelike corpse of a middle-aged woman with a blue scale on her forehead. The woman in the middle stood there, and there was a pool under her feet. The pool was not filled with life spiritual liquid, but with clear water rich in spiritual energy and a small number of soul crystals. Don't move. Night Sorrow stopped Inshi. What's wrong? Can't you see that she's holding a long sword and wearing a storage ring? Inshi looked at Night Sorrow and said, I know. This woman's aura is very strange. She's not from the Nine Zones world. Her corpse is so lifelike, so it's hard to say whether her soul will be destroyed. If we're not careful, she might be possessed. I've seen such things before. Night Sorrow looked at Inshi and said, That makes sense. I'm not afraid of being possessed. You can hide in the pagoda of time and space, Inshi said. You don't have to worry about me. I'm afraid that your soul defense is low, and she will try to possess you. If she dares to possess me, she's asking for trouble. Night Sorrow looked at Inshi and said, Our Silver Devil clan has a soul defense secret technique. Last time we were hit hard by you, so we didn't have time to use the Deity Ocean defense. Now that we're prepared, we'll be fine, Inshi said. Seeing that Inshi was confident, Night Sorrow walked forward and punched the energy shield outside the pool. It was a kind of energy restriction. As the restriction was broken, the middle-aged woman opened her eyes. You're courting death for disturbing my cultivation. With a loud roar, the middle-aged woman's aura began to rise. Then, Night Sorrow could not see the middle-aged woman's cultivation level clearly. Inshi held a long sword in her right hand and pulled Night Sorrow back with her left hand. Get lost. I'll pretend that nothing happened. The middle-aged woman looked at Inshi and Night Sorrow. I thought you were powerful. So you're only a level 8 supremacy. Inshi's body flashed and she charged toward the middle-aged woman in blue. At this time, the middle-aged woman also drew her sword and fought against Inshi. The middle-aged woman in blue's sword technique was very sharp. Her sword technique also contained the power of the rules. However, Inshi's attack was strong and fast. She suppressed the middle-aged woman in blue. If my cultivation level was still here, I'd kill a trashy saint like you in a moment. The middle-aged woman's body flashed and she was about to leave. Don't talk nonsense. Part of my cultivation level has been destroyed. What's the use of bragging? Inshi chased after her. Night Sorrow entered the pool and scooped up the few soul crystals. Then he chased after Inshi and the middle-aged woman in blue. At this time Inshi had the absolute upper hand. Because of Inshi's fast speed, the middle-aged woman in blue could not escape even if she wanted to. Night Sorrow did not get too close because he could not intervene in a battle of this level. Night Sorrow was very happy because the middle-aged woman in blue was still alive. All the resources were still there. As long as the middle-aged woman in blue was killed, Night Sorrow could go and count the gains. At this time, the middle-aged woman in blue was very angry. In her eyes, Inshi was trash. However, Inshi's speed made her helpless. She could not win the battle and she could not escape. The only U version S hashtag, the other J60 all FF is a pirated version. Night Sorrow followed from a distance. He stared at the middle-aged woman's long sword. He felt that the long sword was similar to the one Inshi had. It was probably a saint-level sword. Chapter 761. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Seeing that she was sure to win, Night Sorrow took the wine jar and drank as he watched the battle and learned from it. A quarter of an hour later, she performed her wind elemental flash and pierced through the head of the Saintess in blue while she cursed. If I wasn't worried about your tricks, I would have killed you a long time ago. Why would I listen to your nonsense? She's long sword vibrated and completely shattered the spirit sea of the Saintess in blue. She then took out the holy crystal. Good. Well done. Let's stop here. Night Sorrow clapped his hands and said. She smiled at Night Sorrow. She took the Saintess in blue's long sword and storage ring and went to Night Sorrow's side. This girl is of the water attribute, but I can feel that she is not from the 9-domain world. She was severely injured back then, so she has been in a state of hibernation. Her cultivation has not recovered. Yishang still dug a hole and buried the body of the blue-clothed Saintess. Then he took the spoils from Shi. After Night Sorrow put away the holy crystal, he took the storage ring and the long sword and asked Shi, is the long sword a saint-grade long sword? Love Gon Little said Chu, yes definitely. And the quality is better than mine. But you must have prepared it for your Aunt Fei. Besides, the wind attribute is more suitable for me. Shi said. Night Sorrow nodded and then put away the long sword. Let's go into the space-time pagoda to count the loot. After speaking, Night Sorrow brought Shi into the space-time pagoda. Night Sorrow opened the holy woman's storage ring and found that she was very rich. She had 2 high-grade spirit weapons. One was of the water element, which Night Sorrow knew was for backup. The other was of the fire element. Other than the 2 spirit tool-level swords, there were also attribute crystals. There were at most a dozen water attribute crystals, a few wind attribute crystals, and a few other attribute crystals. The most valuable one was the Saint Spirit Stone. In this woman's storage ring, there were more than 20 Saint Spirit Stones and a few hundred extreme-grade Spirit Stones. However, there were no upper-grade Spirit Stones. Why aren't there any cultivation methods? Night Sorrow said somewhat gloomily. Cultivation techniques are all memorized in one's mind. Unless it's a real big shot or a cultivation technique that belongs to him or her, the average disciple of a sect wouldn't carry a cultivation technique book with him, Shi said. Night Sorrow then opened the storage ring of the holy woman who was cut in half. There were extreme-grade spirit stones, some healing medicine, and some materials for refining weapons and elixir pills. It's not easy being a 9 regions holy woman. She's short on resources, but she could still fight with her opponent until both sides suffered, Night Sorrow said emotionally. I wonder where this outsider came from. He's really rich in resources, Shi said. It's not easy for you this time. I'll give you some. Take it yourself, Night Sorrow said as he pointed at the pile of extreme-grade spirit stones on the ground and the Saint Spirit Stones on the table. You're really giving it to me? Without you I wouldn't be able to come in. Besides, what's mine is yours, Shi said as she shook her head. Take it. You need it too. It's good for you and me to increase your strength. Shin Song, Night Sorrow said. Then Shi took 4 Saint Spirit Stones and 100 extreme-grade Spirit Stones. She then nodded at Night Sorrow. You're not greedy. Call me if you need anything. Night Sorrow nodded and sorted out the materials. Night Sorrow was very happy with this harvest. It was equivalent to solving some of his basic problems. The problem of Wu Lingfei's weapon was solved. Aoi and Sikong Chuyu also had spiritual weapons to use. The only thing missing was Yang Lei's weapon. Yang Lei was of the lightning attribute, so there were relatively few lightning attribute spiritual weapons. Why Zizzer, fast 3. 6-inch seeing Night Sorrow shake his head, Shi asked. Night Sorrow didn't hide anything and told her about Yang Lei's situation. Looking at Night Sorrow, Shi took out a long sword. I happen to have a spiritual weapon level lightning attribute sword. Give it to her. After you nourish your flowing wind sword, you can also take this weapon in my hand. Then the problem will be solved. No one will recognize your weapon and this lightning attribute weapon, right? Night Sorrow asked. Shi shook her head. Unless the weapon was very special, no one would be able to recognize it. Then Night Sorrow mentioned the problem of Shi's body fragrance. He told Shi not to use any spices in the future. This was simply cheating him. However, Shi's answer made Night Sorrow feel very helpless. She didn't use any spices. Her body fragrance was unique to the women of the Silver Devil clan. This situation made Night Sorrow feel very helpless. He felt that every time he came out of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, he had to take a shower first. Otherwise Aoi, Yanglei and Sikong Chuyu would find out sooner or later. Seeing Night Sorrow's helpless expression, Inshi smiled. She knew that Night Sorrow was troubled by her fragrance last time. Most of the time, Night Sorrow would open up the soul connection between him and Inshi. Let's rest for a few days and then continue. I plan to consolidate my cultivation and nourish the flowing wind sword. Inshi looked at Night Sorrow and said. In the past, she was domineering and others would listen to her orders. Now, everything was decided by Night Sorrow and she was already used to it. Night Sorrow nodded. He also planned to continue refining the other half of the Desolate Stone and continue strengthening the myriad Tao treasured book's attribute power. In the past, Night Sorrow also obtained Desolate Stones. However, because they were stored for a long time and their quality was low, other than the power of Desolates, they didn't have much energy. However, he had recently obtained high-quality Desolate Stones that contain pure energy. While increasing his attribute power, it also increased his myriad Tao treasured book's cultivation. Do you want to try and see if I can help you with your cultivation? Inshi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Woman, I don't need any help with my cultivation. I can't take it even if you say so. Night Sorrow glanced at Inshi. After being stared at by Night Sorrow, Inshi turned around and sat on the bed. Why don't we rest on the bed? Night Sorrow thought for a while and looked at Inshi. In order to respect you, I didn't pry into your thoughts or your privacy. I always feel that you have an ulterior motive. It's not an ulterior motive. It's just that I still need your essence. Inshi's voice was a little low. You're still not done? Haven't you mastered the Wind Yuan body? Hearing Inshi's words, Night Sorrow was a little annoyed. Yes, I have. Didn't I just master it? It still needs to be stabilized. It's not perfect yet. Inshi raised her head and looked at Night Sorrow. I don't want to scold you. If it was another man, he would have been played to death by you. Night Sorrow said angrily. You're wrong. The cultivation method of plucking has always been in my hands. If I was a perverted person, I would have been able to cultivate it long ago and surpass that woman. However, I didn't do that. I'm not a person without a bottom line. As for the wrong path, it was because of the competition with her. It was my desire to excel that led me to a dead end. Inshi said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that Inshi was telling the truth. If Inshi was a person without a bottom line, Xiaolanjun might not have been able to suppress her. Chapter 762. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go/Little? Show.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Well, the preparation is a small matter. Let me tell you first. I will use the energy of the wind body to enter your body and help you nourish your body. However, you can't control or cut off my energy. If you do that, you will be setting me up. Inshi looked at Night Sorrow and said. If the energy of your wind body enters my body and explodes, won't I be in trouble? Night Sorrow muttered. What's in it for me? I am helping you nourish the toughness of your body and the energy in your body. Your body and energy are strong but not tough enough. Inshi said. Then Inshi told Night Sorrow that there was no need for Night Sorrow to do anything. He just needed to circulate the energy in his body naturally. After speaking, Inshi got on the big bed and took off her skirt. At this time, Night Sorrow couldn't care less. He also took off his robe and got on the big bed. They hadn't done this for a long time. The two of them fought fiercely. After 2 hours, Night Sorrow finally finished. At this time, Inshi flipped onto Night Sorrow's body and sat cross-legged on his waist. She nodded at Night Sorrow and started to cultivate. Night Sorrow looked at Inshi, who was cultivating with her eyes closed. Then he started to circulate the energy in his body. At this time, a cool energy entered Night Sorrow's body from Inshi's waist. It circulated with the energy of Night Sorrow's myriad Tao treasured book. Night Sorrow knew that this was the energy of Inshi's wind body. He knew that Inshi wouldn't harm him now, so he let this energy circulate in his body with the energy of his myriad Tao treasured book. At first he didn't feel anything. Then Night Sorrow felt that his body and the myriad Tao tome's energy had indeed changed under the nourishment of Silver Dusk's energy. It had become more resilient as it surged. The intensity of the energy was still the same as before. However, the previous flaws, bubbles, and varying intensities in the energy had slowly disappeared. In other words, Night Sorrow's myriad Tao tome's energy had become much more complete. An hour later, Inshi withdrew the energy that had entered Night Sorrow's body. She turned over and left Night Sorrow's body, then went to the side to wash herself. Night Sorrow also stood up and put on his robe. At the same time he nodded at Yin Shi. This was because the cultivation effect this time was very strong. It was equivalent to nourishing his myriad Tao tome at a very high level. After tidying herself up, Yin Shi told Night Sorrow that she had also gained a lot. While helping Night Sorrow, she had also taken away the flawed energy of Night Sorrow's myriad Tao treasured book. After she had refined it, it had also increased the intensity of her wind body's energy. This time, Night Sorrow didn't say anything about the benefits that Yin Shi had gained. This was because he had gained more benefits. Baidu search AI Go Xiao Shua www.achux. And then the two of them began to cultivate. Yin Shi had to refine the flawed energy of the myriad Tao treasured book. At the same time she was nourishing the flowing wind sword. When the flowing wind sword was completely nourished, her strength would increase by a large margin. Night Sorrow held the desolate stone and cultivated. At the same time he let Shao Kong transfer the energy of his soul power and bloodline power to him. Looking at Night Sorrow being enveloped by dense energy, Yin Shi curled her lips. She knew that this was the difference in treatment. 2% forever free to look at *c. Say 7. Night Sorrow was the person recognized by the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. In other words, he was the owner. The Spacetime Treasure Pagoda would of course fully support Night Sorrow's cultivation. She could only cultivate naturally here. Fully refining the desolate stone, Night Sorrow strengthened his soul power and bloodline power at the same time. His soul power increased naturally. However, the quantity of his bloodline power couldn't be increased. He could only continue to strengthen the quality. Half a month had passed. Night Sorrow's myriad Tao treasured book's attribute power had increased by a lot. It was close to saturation. At the same time his cultivation had also increased by a lot. Looking at the white desolate stone in his hand, Night Sorrow stood up and stretched his waist. Seeing that Night Sorrow had finished cultivating, Yin Shi also stood up. At the same time she took out her old spiritual artifact longsword and passed it to Night Sorrow. I have already retrieved the soul imprint. You can give it to your fiancé to use. It seems that you have made great progress in this half a month. Night Sorrow said as he kept the longsword. Yin Shi nodded to Night Sorrow and told him about her situation. Some time ago her cultivation had been greatly damaged. Yin Shi started to cultivate again. The problems that she had not sorted out in the past had also been sorted out. With the Feng Yuan body as the foundation, her cultivation had not recovered, but she had a good foundation. Looking at Night Sorrow, Yin Shi hesitated for a moment. She bit her lips and said, "Let's cultivate again. Your refining body has just increased, so it is a little unstable. There are more flaws. I can help you nourish them. At the same time, the power of the flaws in your body will be greatly beneficial to me after I refine it." Night Sorrow nodded and started the second real cultivation with Yin Shi. This time the two of them cultivated for more than 4 hours. Although it did not solve the problem of Night Sorrow's newly increased cultivation, Night Sorrow's myriad Tao treasured book's cultivation was much more stable. Night Sorrow also took a bath. Then the two of them continued to move forward in the Supreme River space. Yin Shi's combat power had greatly increased. Firstly, she had been refining the Dragon Spirit Pill to increase her cultivation. Secondly, she had a sacred grade treasure sword. The power of her sword chi had increased exponentially. Using the sacred grade longsword, Yin Shi did not need to use the power of law to protect the longsword. She did not need to worry about the longsword shattering. The power of law could be used to attack, increasing her attack power. It was the same for Night Sorrow. The myriad Tao treasured book's cultivation had increased again. Coupled with the fact that it was flawless, it made his combat power much more comfortable. Then the two of them continued to kill. When they were tired, they would enter the time-space treasure pagoda to recover. On this day when the two of them were killing, a nether beast with a gray crystal-like horn appeared. Night Sorrow, retreat. This is a 3-star sacred grade nether beast. Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Can you fight? If you can, I will clear the periphery." After Night Sorrow killed a nether beast, he switched between the space-splitting spear and the reincarnation spear. "Okay, be careful." Yin Shi shouted and charged towards the nether beast. The sacred grade nether beast had half transformed. It had the head of a wolf and the body of a human. It even had a battle sword in its hand. Night Sorrow knew that the nether beast was not a simple group of beasts. They already had a civilization and could forge weapons. They were no different from humans. While Night Sorrow was observing Yin Shi and the 3-star sacred grade nether beast fought, Inshi's cultivation was not as high as the nether beast. However, her realm was high and the power of law she could use was strong. With the help of the sacred grade treasure sword, Inshi was not at a disadvantage. After a few rounds of probing, Inshi began to display her speed. She circled the nether beast saint and started to attack. After a while, the 3-star sacred grade nether beast was covered in injuries from Inshi's attacks. Night Sorrow, who was clearing the battlefield outside, could see that Inshi could end the battle at any time. She was using this sacred grade nether beast to train and consolidate her cultivation. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.